and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of racing in the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship Season 5, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today marks round 6 of 10 as we come to the conclusion of the mid-portion of the season. Christmas is right around the corner, and with it we conclude our German doubleheader. Of course, last week we were at the Nürburgring, and today we're at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, located in the district of Werder in Saxony-Anhalt of Germany. And goodness me, what a circuit we are going to be racing at today. Indeed, many of you will know this circuit from an infamous quote from the legendary touring car racing trial of John Cleland with regards to turn number 1. But putting that aside, a quote perhaps we're not going to utter on air, this is a circuit which marks Germany's 4th permanent road racing course in the country, and having opened in 1997, the circuit may be relatively young, spanning the best part of what is approximately 25 years, but it has been a circuit that's played host to many a series, including touring car racing, DTM, GT3, and also Formula Feeder series, and at its core is a fast flying set of 14 corners with minimal elevation change and a very smooth road surface. What that means in actuality is, with the limited number of straights available at this circuit, is a technical circuit which is all about cornering prowess. From corner to corner you need to nail those apexes and be bold on the brakes and brake as late as possible in order to carry the speed and complete the perfect lap, and get it right and you may just be taking track position in qualifying and staying up front over the course of the racing. However, get it wrong, you have to fight your way through. Alternatively, if you're starting up front, you may find yourself after 1 or 2 mistakes under major pressure. And with a road racing surface which spans out to approximately 11 to 13 metres on average over the course of the entire lap, it does mean that overtaking opportunities are plentiful here, and it's not uncommon to see 2, perhaps even 3 wide into many of the corners. But as we get ready to go racing today, and what is going to be a cracking round of NXTCC racing action, we can see our schedule at times in British, not in the British medium time, we can say in Greenwich medium time there, in GMT or Universal Coordinate time at UTC, and as we can see in just under 18 minutes time we're going into our qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration at 8 o'clock, all the drivers out of the circuit and looking to put down their best possible mark in qualifying and achieve track position, which could be critical going into race number 1. Race number 1 immediately follow at 8:15, and that'll be 12 laps of race. Indeed, all 3 of our races, sprint races, at 12 laps in duration today. And after race number 1, we'll be taking a brief breather before returning to the build-up to race number 2, will be just before 9 o'clock this evening. At 9 o'clock, it'll be lights out and away we go once again for our second race of the day, and another 12 laps of racing will commence, after which we'll take a brief breather before returning for our final race of the day, and that'll be race number 3 at just prior to 9:45 is when we'll return, but it'll be lights out and away we go at 9:45 precisely. But as we get set, we welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side, available to you on free media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, if you are a Next Gen YouTube or alternative Facebook follower, we welcome you guys and girls to the Next Gen Racing YouTube broadcast, available only on youtube.com. Search for Next Gen Racing. Alternatively, on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing. Hello to you guys and girls as well on Facebook. But if you're not following either of those, and perhaps you're more of a Twitch person, you could be tuning in right now via twitch.tv/TX11, the unofficial broadcast, and welcome to you guys and girls on Twitch. Now, so you may be asking, who is TX141? Well, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And I'll bring you all your racing action today, and indeed over the entirety of the season. And what a season it has been thus far, and we've still got plenty to go as we make our way in towards the Christmas break. But let's give you a reminder of the season calendar and what to expect, what lies ahead. For as we can see, we started off all the way back on the 7th of November at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, but today it's the 19th of December of 2023. Indeed, after today, we've got the Christmas break week before we return to the racing action in the new year of 2024. But with our round today being round number 6, we start off all the way back with round number 1 in the United Kingdom at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Now, that's on the 7th of November, of which we expected plenty of racing action, and indeed, our drivers absolutely delivered at the Kent County circuit. And after that, we made our way for round number 2 over to United States of America, across the Atlantic Ocean for the Circuit of the Americas. And on the west layout of the circuit, a very tricky and young circuit, which youth did not let us down with regards to its lack of experience. Indeed, the experience of drivers definitely shine on the 14th of November, as well as there are many bumps and scrapes between drivers. There's also some absolutely fantastic racing action. And then round number 3, to wrap up the first part of the season on the 21st of November, we made our way southwards to Brazil for the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and in a return to the Brazilian circuit, the second time in the NXTCC's history, we got to see our drivers take on the circuit and absolutely enjoy it in its winding splendour as they made the way around the local hilly landscape. But then we had our first mid-season break week, and we returned on the 5th of December for the Canadian Time Motorsport Park circuit. Canadian Fruxton, as we like to refer to it, and once again the Canadian circuit definitely did deliver, and we got to see some brilliant racing action at the front of the field and also some firsts in the Prime class. Before then, we wrapped up the first half of the season last time out on the 12th of December at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke, the Vido layout in particular, also known as BES WEC. As our drivers committed to the first part of the German doubleheader, we got to see some brilliant batting, and that batting has definitely shaken up the championship standings. More on that in due order. And today we conclude the second half of the German doubleheader on the 19th of December at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. Now we go into our mid-season break after this week, and indeed it's a Christmas break for all of our drivers, and many of them will be eager to try and give themselves an early Christmas present for a great result today. But when they do return in the new year, it's not going to be champagne and splendour anymore. It's back to the nitty and gritty of racing action, and it'll be on the 2nd of January 2024. Set that date in your diary immediately that we return in the French circuit, the circuit in Magny-Cours, and it'll be the first time we see that circuit featured on the NXTCC calendar. A highly technical circuit, and it awaits our drivers, and we look forward to seeing who will come out on top there. But we make our way back to the United States or America for the final time this season, and that'll be for round number 8 on the 9th of January at the Sebring International Raceway. Another first, a new circuit on the calendar, much like the Magny-Cours circuit, and then we bring it all to a close with a double header in the United Kingdom, 3 visits to the UK, 2 of them right at the end of the season. The first of which is on the 16th of January at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. We've been to Silverstone multiple times in the course of the NXTCC's history, but it'll be the first time we run the full Grand Prix layout, and we bring it all to a close, and we sign off with Season 5 on the 23rd of January at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. An old staple, it returns, and it returns in commemoration of the fact it's returning to the British Touring Car Championship calendar for 2024, and it's only appropriate the Leicestershire circuit is the crown jewel of our calendar for Season 5. But that's enough of the calendar. Let's give you an update on the championship standings after 5 rounds of racing, starting with the overall Drivers' Championship. And here we can see leading the way by the best part of 41 points is Daniel Martin from RD Simsport. Now, Daniel Martin put in one of the best performances of the day last time out of the Nürburgring and managed to extend his championship lead over his rivals. However, things are on a knife edge as of tonight because Daniel Martin will not be on the grid. He's not quite able to make it, but I can assure you he's doing okay, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to seeing him returning in round number 7 in the new year. But it's going to be his drop score, and with that, it means it's an opportunity for anyone else inside the top 10 to potentially take a swipe at the championship lead. Now, do keep in mind that whilst Wojciech Swirydowicz is your leading contender in second place at the moment on 508 points, and he continues to remain inside the top 2 no matter how much success ballast is thrown at him, the key point being here is the fact from Wojciech Swirydowicz all the way down to Dan Mould in P10, it is a gap of points there of only 120 points separating P2 to P10. It is the closest we've ever seen it at the midpoint of the season in NXTCC, and right now this top 10 could be completely turned upside down depending on how the results play out today here at Oschersleben. And indeed, Swirydowicz being chased closely by Mikey Dowell in P3, defending champion on 490 points, with further 16 ahead of Adam Delmont, and it's only 1 extra point to Jamie Dory in P5. That is how tight the margins are right now, with drivers separated by units of points, not tens or indeed hundreds. And then as we can see in P6, Joseph Dowell falling outside the top 5 for the first time this season, and he'll be looking to bounce back immediately after a difficult day at the Nürburgring circuit. And the same could be said for Gavin Gardner, who's dropped down to P8, and ahead of him now is Jaroslav Sabula, who's moved up to P7. The Semper Racing driver putting in a great set of results last time out, and definitely proving that the more technical circuits, he does seem to be an adept hand at them compared to perhaps the more simplified circuits. But still, Gavin Gardner falling to P8. You're not going to be seeing the NXTGEN Racing Pink driver on the grid today. Unfortunately, he can't make it, but he's doing all well and looking forward to Christmas. And then we can see Paul Zanatachi and Dan Moll completing the top 10, and Zanatachi moving into P9. The first time we've seen him inside the top 10 this season. Indeed, a great set of results for the Affinity driver last time out, and well deserved in terms of his position right now. Outside the top 10, it's Benjamin McCluskey at P11 there on 341 points. He's the best part of what is their 47 outside of the top 10, and he'll be looking to try and close the delta today. But he's got to be aware of the fact he has fellow pro Lee Horn only at what is the best part of 29 points behind him. And there's Isaac Double, the leading prime overall, sits P13 on 274 points. The best part of what is 19 clear of Alex Meredith, and the gap between the two prime drivers is ever tightening, with Nick Clemens wrapping up your top 15. William Guthrie, P16, ahead of Matthew Addy, with Sam Smith, Russell Fowler, and Luciano Whitford completing your top 20. And outside the top 20, P21 from the 190 points of Whitford, it is Reese Watt there, P21 on 188 points. 3 clear of Martin Shirley, but in return, Daniel Daniel and Sam Van Ols, the 2 Goldwing Motorsport drivers, P23, P24. They're inseparable on circuit, and they're inseparable in the championship standings, and they're ahead of Alan McCain in P25. Alan McCann is only inside the top 25, however, based on result countback, with Ben Altrier P26 by comparison, both of them on 147 points. And then we do have Fraser Elphick P27 ahead of Paul Scott, with Jay Clay and Ian Manners completing the top 30. Outside the top 30 is John Higgins Jr., who on 97 points looks to try and battle his way into the top 30. Indeed, the delta right now being 8 points. He's not too far off, and John Higgins Jr. having a medley of results so far. Mixed fortunes at most circuits, but still plenty more time to come for him, and we're sure he's going to have a good day today, or if not, he'll be hoping he can have a good day and be looking forward to also the final 4 rounds of the season in due course. And then we can see Michael at least a third 2 points behind now on it's P32, the pro driver having a difficult season so far, but still plenty more to come and building that experience as well as he pushes forward in the remainder of the championship campaign. Duncan Moraes P33 ahead of Stephen Fry, with Alex Herriott completing your top 35, and Alex Herriott having a better run of results last time out and definitely starting to bounce back now. He does seem to be finding his feet in due course. And then we can see Enwood's P36 Raffle Zarsht ahead of Andrew Holmes, with Wayne Douglas, Luke Jones and Dale McQueen completing your top 30. Then outside the top, not top 30, your top 40, I should say. Outside the top 40, P41 is Matthew Shepperton ahead of Harry Gaylor, with Mark Kent, Mark Sykes and Howler Bicknell completing your top 45. And then we can see P46, Jonathan Collins ahead of Jake Pitt, with Callum Jenkins, James Spencer-Scout and Craig Tillerston completing your top 50. And watch out for Craig Tillerston today. He's changed cars. He's switched away from the Hyundai Elantra. He's going to be running the Honda Civic Type R for the remainder of the season, as we've been informed. The FR20 Sim Racing driver not too happy with the way the Elantra is behaving, so he's decided to swap out the South Korean machine for the Japanese machine and feeling more comfortable already, albeit it will take a significant points deduction as a result. Now in CP51 it's George Watson ahead of Nigel Stott, with Dom Joy, Scott Malcolm completing your top 54, all not to score points or have scored positive points. And then with negative points there, P55 and downwards, Peter Greenwood -5, the same for Gabriel Yilmaz, Ian Will P57 and Adam Manali completing your standings there on -6 points in P58. We then come onto the IMB Racewear Championship stands. This is the Pro-Am Class Championship, and here we can see Isaac Double continues to lead, but his advantage has been drastically slashed, given the fact he really was not on the form at last time out the Nürburgring, and really it was a bit of an anomalous individual. But still, that's the way it goes. You can't be perfect everywhere, and Isaac Double will be looking to try and turn things around today, with Matthew Addy closing the delta and moving into P2. Only the best part now was 51 points off of the championship leader. But then again, Isaac Double has been leading all season so far. So the fact he's still got a 51-point advantage is testament to his ability and the fact that everyone's having to give it hot pursuit. Matthew Addy is the leader of that hot pursuit, but he's only 7 points clear of Alex Meredith, with the two drivers both having good results last time at the Nürburgring, but Matthew Addy in particular having a resurgence of form. And then Daniel Downing P4 ahead of Sam Van Olst, the two Goldwing Motorsports teammates keeping themselves in the top 5 still, albeit Van Olst only 1 point ahead of Sam Smith. The battle of the two Sams there. And then Ben Altry at P7 on 467 points, a further 2 behind, with Alan McCain P8 ahead of Paul Scott and Jay Calais, who holds on to the top 10 in P10. Fraser Elphick P11 looking to try and find a bit further form today on 316 points, 5 clear Matthew Shepperton, with Duncan Moraes P13 ahead of Luke Jones, and then Stephen Fry P15 ahead of Raffle Zarsht, with Alex Everett, Mark Sykes, Harlan Bicknell and then Craig Tillerston completing your top 20. And outside the top 20 at P21 from 162 points to Tillerston, it is Andrew Holmes at P21, 141 points ahead of James Vasquez-Gal, with Peter Green with P23 ahead of Callum Jenkins and Ian Wild. And there's Jonathan Collins P26 ahead of Mark Kent, with George Watson P28 and continuing to gain some points and moving closer to the top 25, only now the best part of what is their 15 points of field. And there's Harry Gaylor P29 on 72 points ahead of Jake Pitt P30, Scott Malcolm P31, then Gabriel Yilmaz, Nigel Stott and Dom Joy complete your championship standings. And then coming on to the Teams Championship, of course, we can't forget this. It's NXTGEN Pink who lead the way by 3 points over Doble Sim Racing. Indeed, NXTGEN Pink have finally found their way to the top of the stands, but with the gaps being so slender and tight, it could go any which way. And it's only a further 2 points to SRL NXTGEN, with Semper Racing at P4 917 points. You could not cut the tension with a knife if you tried to, ladies and gentlemen. That is how tight it is. And it would be rude of us not to include RD Simsport in that analysis on 882. Indeed, the top 5 teams right now being separated by a margin there, or is the best part of less than 60 points. In fact, it is, I believe, what would be 54 points, and it is the closest we've ever seen it in the NXTCC in 5 seasons of racing. Meanwhile, Brabham Esports and Performance Link sitting P6 on 713 points ahead of Esports. What is the Esports team there, and also Affinity joined together in P7. But indeed, you can see the delta there. In fact, I think some of the team names have crept over. We do apologise for that. In P7, I do believe it's actually NXTGEN with Sam Cases, and right now, Brabham Esports, Performance Link Esports and Affinity in P6, and also was their next one with Sam Cases, P6, P7, both in a bit of middle ground and looking to try and close outside the top 5, but also got to be wary of the pursuit of the other teams, including iRacing Esports, who sit P8 on 559 points, and they hold quite a stellar advantage over what is JW Motorsport, who sit in P9 on 399, and it's Full Tilt V Motorsport who complete your top 10 on 388. Outside the top 10 to 361, it's Goldwing Motorsport, who continue to try and chase down the top 10 position. Head of Aztec Racing with P739 Motorsports P13. Next, Cresta Autosport, and last but not least, FR20 Sim Racing, Mally Motors, Whiskey Runners, Synergy Sim Racing, the conglomerate there, wrapping up the team's championship standings in P15 of 15. But even then, we do have a little bit of a battle for P12 going on between the final 4 teams, and they're staying very close together. The points difference between the 4 teams standing at what is a great margin of only, I do believe, 27 points. Well, in fact, I believe it's 29 points when we do the maths correctly. But now coming on to our circuit for today. Well, of course, we introduced it a little bit earlier on, but let's give you a more detailed introduction. It is the alternate layout of the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. Located near the town of Oschersleben in the Bürde district of what is the state of Saxony-Anhalt in Germany, this circuit has a reputation for being tight and troublesome when it comes to those corner apexes, and particularly turn number 1. Indeed, we're running the original turn 1 out layout, ladies and gentlemen, whereby it's much tighter. It's a 90-degree left-hander where drivers will have to go down to first or second gear in order to clear the corner before they make their way sweeping through the turn 2 known as Hotel. But at the core, as we said earlier, this is a fast flying circuit. It's got a very fast lap to it despite its lengthy nature, and over the course of 2.27 miles of racing, we're going to see plenty of battling from corner to corner. But a lap around here consists of what is the long start finish straight, the longest straight on the circuit, as our drivers charge across the start finish line and down towards turn number 1. It'll be a battle on the brakes. They make their way into the sharp left-hander. Indeed, the slightest corner on the circuit, well then they start to wind themselves up and run out of Hotel corner at turn number 2. Coming out to there, they'll make their way into turn number 3 at Hasserode, and there it's a banked cambered corner, which will see our drivers carry the speed on through the hairpin when they make their way into triple at turns 4, 5 and 6, the triple left-hander, where it's all about nailing that turn 5 apex in particular to set the run in towards turn number 7. Through the sweeping right-hander, much like an analog to Hotel at turn number 2, the cars will be spat out in the run through the chicane at turns 8, 9 and through the right-hander of McDonald's at turn number 10, before they make their way down the back straight and into the shell curve, the right-hander at turn number 11, which sets up a broken up chicane at turns 11 and 12, going through shell into Amman, and as they make their way out to left-hander at 12, it's in the run through Bauer curve, which is a lift and shift as they come through the right-hander at 13, and into Zeppelin at 14 to complete the lap and do it all over again. Indeed, you can see how quickly a lap can fly around here, and we'll bring you some onboards in qualifying. But to give you a quick reminder of the rules, because we can't go racing without them, setup-wise, this is a fixed setup series with all the drivers provided with setups ahead of each and every round of racing. Driver classes-wise, they were finalised as the conclusion of round number 3, and we haven't got any class changes as of today, we can confirm, although we do have 2 new drivers on the grid and we will introduce them in due course. Sprint race wise, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying, that's a given. The race 2 grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race number 1, but the reversal position will be drawn live from the commentary booth between P6 and P12, and then the race 3 grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race number 2, but again we do a reverse grid draw, and that time it will be between P13 and P23 for the commentary booth, and he will cut into the commentary booth and I'll be doing the lottery bowl draw for both of those reverse grids. And in terms of fast repairs available in the races, each driver has 1 fast repair available. We shouldn't be seeing any drivers coming to the pits unless they need to do repair work. Alternatively, they picked up a drive-through penalty, more on that shortly. And just to remind you, the races are both lap and time limited, whereby we should see the allotted lap amount expire first around 20 minutes into the racing. That'll be 12 laps, or if we have multiple safety cars, we may go up to the 30 minutes allocation for each race. Now on top of this, race journing is in effect when an independent race director is showing the races of track limit infringements and the deployment of the safety car. And speaking of those pesky track limits, if you get a warning or a second warning, there's no penalty. If you get a third warning, it's a 5-second post-race time penalty. A fourth warning, we double that to 10 seconds. And on the fifth warning, you get a drive-through penalty for your misdemeanors, and that drive-through penalty must be served within 3 laps. Meanwhile, racing incidents shall be reviewed post-round. Now, also, we'd like to remind you at this time that success ballast is in effect over the entirety of this season of racing, and is applied on a race-by-race basis to both the overall and also the Pro-Am class. Now, for qualifying in race number 1, the success ballast shall be applied based on the championship standings prior to round, so what we took you through earlier in both the overall and the Pro-Am Drivers' Championships. In race number 2, the success ballast shall be updated based on the finishing positions of race number 1, and we do the same again for race number 3 based on the finishing positions of race number 2. And to give you a quick overview of the success ballast phase, we can see on the left-hand side of your screen your overall success ballast with your championship leader in the overall championship taking 56.1 kilograms into today. Well, that would have been Daniel Martin, but he won't be taking that, so instead it'll be your second place driver of Wojciech Swirydowicz, who have the highest amount of 48.2 kilograms, all the way down to 10th place, the former Dan Molden 4.7 kilograms. Meanwhile, in the Pro-Am classification, we will see Isaac Doe will continue to have the 32.5 kilograms going into qualifying in race number 1. Meanwhile, his rivals have a little bit less in the car, including Alex Meredith and Matthew Addy, and well, they're all set and ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, we head back to circuit side here, because that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. And well, as we do look down to this man currently on the circuit, this is none other other than Wojciech Swirydowicz, the Semper Racing driver and the man who continues to frustrate many with his absolutely ferocious pace, even when the success pass is in the car. And I can tell you one thing, the number 80 drives, he goes P3 in this final practice warm-up session. He is looking very quick indeed. And indeed, while speaking to a few drives down the paddock, all eyes were on this man in terms of what is he going to do in qualifying, given the fact he has the highest success pass in the car. And if he is able to put it on pole at the front row of the grid, he will be one of the trickiest drivers to find your way past. But meanwhile, looking from one of our leading pros to one of our primes is on the march. Jay Calais here, the privateer in the number 89. You heard from him earlier in the season, of course, when he did bring on home was an absolutely brilliant win, it must be said, and he gets himself comfortably set today and all on a mission here to do well today. We look forward to seeing how he gets on, there's no doubt about it, as he gets himself all keyed up. He's currently P4 in the primes in this practice session, or what is the best part, P18 overall, and well, meanwhile it is Daniel Downing who's the fastest driver out there in this practice session in the AMS, or in fact in the primes I should say, currently P7 with Isaac Doble only 1.5 tenths off the pace, so indeed it's looking wide open today. And could we see a resurgence from Isaac Doble? I think that could be on the cards. But ladies and gentlemen, only 30 seconds to go before we go into our qualifying session. Don't be shy, feel free to say hi in any of the respective chats. We always love to hear from you guys and girls tuning in at home. Alternatively, whether you're on your travels or whatnot, do let us know whether you're all set for Christmas and what you're looking forward to today, who you're going to be cheering on, and who you're hoping gets an early Christmas present with an absolute plethora of points here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben circuit. But practically all drives in the pit lane right now. Jay Clay parking up as well. Matthew Sheraton still making his way on through there for Aztec Racing, and we have 35 drivers in attendance currently as confirmed. And indeed we have seen some rather large fields this season, all the way up to 50 plus drivers. But I think today, with Christmas preparations being on the forefront of a number of drivers' minds, we are seeing a few not able to make it, and therefore we might have a slightly reduced field. But I can tell you one thing, what we lack in quantity we don't lack in quality. And speaking of which, we've got a quality qualifying session about to come up, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 15 minutes of qualifying. Who is going to be on pole come the end of it? Let's find out as qualifying gets underway and all our drivers begin to storm their way out of the pit lane. Now, to do well here in qualifying at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, what do you need to be able to do? Well, this circuit is synonymous with touring car racing. Indeed, as far as I'm aware, it has hosted touring car racing all the way through the best part of its 26-year history. Whether it be the older school Super Touring era from the 90s all the way through to TCR Europe of the modern day, it is a circuit which definitely has brought to bear some of the best touring car racing. That's because at its core, it's all about your ability to rotate the car from apex to apex and carry the speed and manage understeer. And in qualifying, well, we're going to be expecting the cars that will definitely be contesting the front of the field will be the Hondas, including Adam Delman here from SRO and NXTGEN, with this car being very strong in the corners and very powerful on the brakes, the best brakes of all the field. The only downside of the Honda, of course, is its straight line speed deficit, albeit perhaps not as prevalent in qualifying, given the fact we've only got 2 extended straights. And well, if Delman, indeed all the Honda drivers are able to carry the speed out of McDonald's at turn number 10 onto the back straight, or alternatively coming out of the Zeppelin curve at turn number 14 onto the start-finish straight, they may just be able to offset the deficit they have in straight line speed and in turn get the golden lap. But of course they may pick up a tire for a teammate or one of their rivals, and that can also help them to build a couple of extra miles now in the run down the given straight. Now, meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, we are expecting the Audis today perhaps not to be on form, with the fact this circuit involves quite a multitude of gear changes, and we do know that the gearbox of the Audi RS3 is highly strong. The example here being in the form of Matthew Sheraton, in the fact that where, say, the Honda might be going for a corner in second gear, the Audi will be tiptoeing around third, perhaps even fourth gear, depending on the apex in particular. And, well, with that in mind, it does mean that Audi drivers will find themselves juggling the gears quite a lot. And, well, in return, the one thing they do have is straight line speed acceleration, but particularly in the mid Porsche circuit, going through turn 4 all the way towards turn number 10, that's where we might start to see the Audi struggle a little bit by comparison with their peers. Meanwhile, in amongst it all will be your Hyundais, including the Hyundai Veloster drive, such as where's Benjamin McCluskey here. Veloster, of course, being the jack of all trades, master of none car that we've seen time and time again really demonstrates its prowess. Indeed, you only have to look back to what was the Riser Hyundai when we first visited the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben back in Season 2. And of course, it was the scene of history, the first ever Pro-Am overall win, which was achieved by Reese Watt. And was the drivers that made the way on through. Have we got Reese Watt here? We have indeed, albeit he's decided to exchange his Hyundai machine from that era and go for an Audi RS3 today. But here is Reese Watt as he makes his way around. Indeed, this circuit holds a bit of history and therefore will feel like home for the Britishman, albeit in a different country, but it'll feel like home just simply because he holds an accolade which only 5 drivers have been able to achieve in the history of the NXTCC. 5 Pro drives taking home overall wins over the course of the series, and Racewear was the first driver to put his name in that history book. We talked a bit about the Hyundai Veloster. What about the Hyundai Elantras meanwhile? Of course, we can't talk about one Hyundai without talking about the other one. And well, as we do try to find out one of our Elantras out on circuit, and I do believe we're going to be seeing one in the form of Wojciech Swirydowicz. In fact, we're not, because he's in a Veloster, but we will see Wojciech Swirydowicz just in front of him as they make their way in towards what is turn number 14. And as they come on through and down, well, the key thing about the Elantra is the fact that this car is the car that we've seen on one lap pace be dominant over the course of the NXTCC's history. But what it has on one lap pace, it does suffer from in terms of race pace, particularly with those front tyres really taking a battering compared to its peers, and particularly if the circuit is high in terms of track temperature. Now, speaking of those temperatures, let's bring it up on the right hand side of your screen, and we'll show you that currently that track condition is 38 degrees centigrade track temperature, ambient is 18 degrees centigrade, so we are on the periphery of track temperatures which will really expose the Elantra under race conditions. And normally we say that it's the final quarter of the races where the Elantra drives fall off the pace unless they've been able to protect the tyres in the early stages. But given how close it is in the NXTCC, protecting tyres is very difficult to do even when you're at the front of the field, and Swirydowicz will know that, much like many of his peers. But he makes his way around. We are close to that 40 degrees centigrade mark, and that could lead to our Elantra drivers just feeling a bit uncomfortable a bit sooner in the races, particularly when we get to say lap 8 or lap 9. That's where we could see the pace start to fall off the proverbial cliff on that front tyre base. But as he makes his way out of turn number 10 and up towards turn 11, well, we hide the weather. We bring you on back down to terra firma with another one of the drivers in the field, in Craig Tillotson here. And as we said earlier, the FR20 Sim Racing driver opting to change to Honda Civic Type R going into this round. And well, the reasons for doing so wasn't quite comfortable with the behaviour of the Elantra, finding particularly into the braking zones and into quite aggressive corners. The car just unpredictable in that rear end, but being much more comfortable, already in his own words achieving the same pace in the Honda as he was in the Elantra, if not going slightly faster. So right now the 34 driver all set and ready to go here, and we look forward to seeing whether a new machine is able to catapult him a bit further up the field, because he definitely has been one of the growing contenders in the Pro-Am class and battling for top 10 finishes, albeit as he makes his way through here. With the quality of his rivals he's got around him, it's going to be easier said than done, even with the change of car. Now, of course, we did say earlier about the fact we've got 2 new drivers on the grid today. Well, one of them is new for this season, but you'll have seen him previously, and well, we'll see him very shortly as our cameraman does try to find him. And well, this is Mikey Doble, but meanwhile, the man we're looking for is this man, and that is Andrew Pike. And as we can see the iRacing eSports driver making his way out the final corner, well, you'll be wondering, why is he not running the Sim Racing Collective or the TSRC colours, given that's what we commonly associate him with. Indeed, he's one of the big members of TSRC. I do believe he's, in fact, one of the founding members of the racing community. Well, TSRC couldn't quite make this season of racing after their absolutely stellar performance in what was season 4 due to scheduling, and they're racing another series which has just recently concluded. So Andrew has decided to come join this season and join up with iRacing Esports in a bit of a collaborative effort. So he's going to be running their liveries, and he's going to be running under their banner in the Teams Championship, and we look forward to seeing how the pro driver gets on today in the Hyundai Elantra. Indeed, a staple car for him. He's proven his prowess before. He's never picked up a win, if my memory serves me correctly, but he's picked up multiple overall podiums, and today he'll be looking to go for at least another overall podium, if not a win in one of our races. And good luck to Andrew. But we don't just have a newcomer in the pro class today, we also do have a first timer in the NXTCC in the Pro-Am class, and here is the newcomer. He's running for Semper Racing, much like his peers here, and it's the Czech Republic driver of what is Piotr Jigaleski. And as he makes his way on through turns 11 and 12, right now racing in the Honda Civic Type R, and we look forward to seeing how Piotr gets on today. Indeed, I haven't had really the chance to be able to catch up with him in the build-up to today, but I can tell you one thing, he was in the team garage very early on when the lobby did open, talking to his teammates, and I think right now absolutely keen to make a good first impression and assist the team and get some major points on the board in their battle to be inside the top 5, not finish inside the top 3 of the Teams Championship when all is said and done come at the end of the season. But as those laps continue to come on in, well, that's a quick update on where we are in terms of newcomers and how the cars are expected to go today. And we are expecting drivers to try and find the tail for one another on their later fast laps, given the fact we do have the 2 straights where you can gain 1 to 2 miles an hour, and it could be worth a 10 for 2 over the entirety of the lap. But the one thing we haven't done yet is giving you an onboard lap, and before we can talk about that, we do talk about the fact that right now for Full Tilt V Motorsport, this is the man who's currently provisional pole sitter. It's William Guthrie, the pro driver, on a 35.580. He's 200ths faster than Wojciech Swirydowicz, and Guthrie right now absolutely pushing on in the pink and black machine, and well, a very distinctive machine, it must be said, for Full Tilt V Motorsport, but his teammates will be cheering him on as he makes his way out of turn number 10 and down towards 11, but as he does so, heading down towards the braking zone and heading in to that, towards that right-hander, hard on the anchors already. He's got quite a queue of cars in front, and well, here's the leading man out of them all. It's Wojciech Swirydowicz as he heads on through 13 and into 14, heading up towards, well, the braking zone here, and as he comes on through the right-hander, well, we jump on board here while second place championship man as he heads across the line and on to a new flying lap. So he charges his way down the start-finish straight, bringing the car into the right-hand side in preparation for turn 1, looking for his brake mark, and when he finds it, he'll be braking approximately 125 meters from corner apex down to first gear, bounding over the apex curve and immediately snapping the car to the right for turn number 2. Now as he winds his way out of the hotel, keeps it nice and tight initially, just feeds the throttle in, and then full throttle on corner exit as he makes his way up towards turn number 3. And wins his right for the blue camera board. That's his brake mark, 100 meters from corner apex down to second gear. Nice and tight to the apex. Use the camber of the road to scoop the car around and build up the momentum as he comes out of 3, and now it's a triple at turns 4, 5 and 6. Now to set this up, you're aiming for turn at number 5, but you've got to turn in first at turn 4, lift off and goes, then into 5, now the apex, and now build up the throttle in third gear as he feeds the car in towards turn number 7. Hard on the brakes down the apex for 6, and that's your brake marker for 7. Second gear now as he makes his way out of the corner and up towards the McDonald's chicane at turns 8 and 9. Here, he's just flat out through initially, off the throttle, and now into the right-hander, down to third gear. Snap downshift as he comes into 10, where he makes his way out of the corner, and now down the back straight, absolutely abusing those track limits to the maximum, which is what we like to see. And then down towards turn number 11, looking to the left-hand side, and braking about 75 meters from corner apex. Car dancing on the rear end, now into turn at number 12 at Amman as he comes through the left-hander. As the car run wide there onto the exit curb, into 13 he goes, and here just lift off the throttle, stay in third gear as he makes his way in towards turn number 14, open the corner up as much as possible using the pit lane entry, and as he makes his way out of the Zeppelin curve, it's going to be a good run to line, but what's this going to be for Wojciech Swirydowicz? He was the fastest of everybody in Sector 1, he's had a difficult Sector 2 and Sector 3 by comparison, but it is enough for a provisional pole. Wojciech Swirydowicz on pole for 35.473, and goodness me, that could be a huge marker to beat here. It's only 400ths faster than William Guthrie right now, but when you're pushing this hard and keeping in mind that Swirydowicz has got 48 kilograms of success ballast in that Elantra, well, you can understand why he's absolutely pushing it to the maximum here. Meanwhile, speaking of somebody who's pushing it to the maximum, here's your Pro-Am pole sitter right now in the IMB Racewear class, Daniel Downing for Goldwing Motorsports, who's in a class of his own. He may be 3 tenths down the overall pole position lap, but still, what has been a 35.77 for the Elantra driver, and that has been in stark contrast to what his Isaac Doe was currently P2 in the class, and the best part of almost half a second off. My goodness, Downing right now, well, we've been expecting a lot from the Goldwing Motorsports driver, given the fact he's had some bad luck this season. In fact, he's had some Robson luck when he's been on a high, and indeed, you've only got to look back to what was potentially a 1-2 in the Prime class in the final race of the day for Goldwing Motorsports, where it went wrong a bit more for Sam Van Olstad it did for Downing, but still the point being the team haven't had too much luck, and Downing as well has been chasing after his first class win of the season, where it may not be a win in qualifying, but if he puts it on pole, I think he's going to be confident he could convert it into a win in race number 1, and given the delta there. But right now, Downing absolutely flying. Meanwhile, Isaac Doble making his way on through turns 11 and 12. He's currently the best part of what is a 10th ahead of Jay Calais, who's currently P20, P3 in the class. But still, Isaac Doble keeping away 32.5 kilograms of success ballast in the Doble Sim Racing driver's car as he makes his way into camera shot there coming out of turn number 14. And right now, absolutely eager and set to try and go a little bit higher as he sets personal best across the board, apart from Sector 3. Where does it move from P18? It moves on up to P11. It's a good lap. It's a 36.097. It does cut the delta sizably to Downing, now down to what is 3 tenths, but still more work to do, but he'll be happy now he's into the top 15. But meanwhile, speaking of improvers in the Pro class, and well, they only qualify for overall. Of course, remember, there's no Pro class championship. It's an overall drivers championship, and then the separate IMB Racewear Prime drivers championship. And here we can see Paul Zenatachi currently P8, being dethroned from P7 by Adam Dillman, but moving himself back inside the top 10, and the Affinity driver continuing to turn heads as he makes his way on through, and I think he'll be very eager here. The try and find a bit more time before all is said and done, as Andrew Pike moves up to P8 down to 35.836. But meanwhile, looking from drivers who we expect to be inside the top 10 to a few surprises further down the field. Well, we do look to Matthew Addy, currently P25, P7 in the prime class. And what's quite noticeable today is you'll see on the timing tower there, of those who are uninitiated, pros are marked by the green stripe against their name. Meanwhile, the primes are denoted by the pink-purple stripe against their name. And you can see this interesting cut of the field where it's mostly pros inside the top 20, bar a couple exceptions, and then all the primes follow suit. We haven't really seen this season. This is the first time we've seen it. In fact, Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, if I cast my memory back, in Season 2 when we ran this circuit on the GP layout, we also saw this. It does seem to be one of those circuits which separates the pros and the primes quite noticeably in qualifying, and we are seeing that. But coming back to our point of surprises, Matthew Addy right now P25, P7 in prime. I think he'll be hoping he can go a little bit further, albeit he's running the P2 success ballast, which is worth about 27 kilograms in the car. As he makes his way through turns 11 and 12, he'll be hoping he can get a little bit closer, given Isaac Dole's performance. He runs quite wide there, coming out of 12, and into 13 he goes, but just about brings it back together in time, albeit that could have been a lack of validation. As meanwhile, Wojciech Swirydowicz has gone even faster off camera, to a 35.308, 2/10 faster than William Guthrie. Well, right now, it must be said the Semper Racing driver is absolutely setting those lap times ablaze at the front of the field. But meanwhile, the one pro who's out of position, as we see him making his way into the final corner, it's the Honda Civic Type R from JW Motorsport of Ian Manners. He's currently P27 in amongst all the Pro-Ams, and he'll be hoping he can find a little bit more time here before this session is done and dusted, for the simple reason he'll want to be inside that top 20 to fight with his peers. He won't want to have to negotiate all the Pro-Ams in the early stage of the racing, particularly with this run into turn 1, where we are expecting to get very close, tight and tense, and we're under braking there. You're going to be coming down to an apex speed under lap 1 at turn 1 in the race of about 35 miles an hour. It's the slice corner we are going to see in the NXTCC all season. But meanwhile, as we look back up towards the fighting point of the field, and that's towards the front of the field, we look to Martin Shirley for RD Simsport, one of the leading drivers in his team, as he makes his way in towards turns 11 and 12. The RD Simsport driver right now in the number 5 P11. He is following on around now. I believe he's tucked into the toe of Isaac Doble, and he'll be hoping that he can use the prime's toe in order to gain a little bit more on the Honda as he makes his way into Zeppelin corner. And well, we can see Isaac Doble there peeling off into the pit lane. And with that, that's going to be a bit of perfect time for Shirley, albeit he's got quite a run down towards the start-finish line. As he comes across line, does he improve this time around? No, he does not. He's going to have one more gasp, but this is the clock is about to strike 15 minutes in what will be 3, 2, 1, and we'll check if flag comes out, ladies and gentlemen, and who is now going to put in the final lap of the day. We've got a lot of drivers already coming across the start-finish line, and well, as we do look to Duncan Mariah, currently P24, the Goldwing Motorsports driver, not quite able to replicate the success of Daniel Downing, who just seems to be in a world of his own right now. But Mariah makes his way on through turn 13. Does he peel off to the pits? Does he stay out? He stays out to finish this lap, we do believe. Comes on through the final corner. Ian Manners is improving just in front. In fact, we can say he's moved up to P25. But Mariah's making his way across the line. Is this an improvement right at the end? No, it's not. Andrew Pike improves to P5. Lee Horn to P13. We've also got Jay Calais coming on through. Well, in fact, he's into the pits. Sam Smith, meanwhile, a late jumping to P2 in the prime class. P18 overall for the iRacing Esports driver, 36.055. Just sneaking ahead of Isaac Doe by 400ths in the end, plus 1,000 on top of that. We also do have Alex Everett right now making his way on through. Has he come into the pit lane? I don't think he has. No, the Crystal Autosport driver staying out there. He's currently P30, P11 in class. Can he find a bit more pace at the end of this session? He comes to line, straight line his way on through. And what's it going to be here? It's not an improvement for Alex Everett, but then we do have what is all of our pros who cross line just in time, making their way through. Benjamin Clucky parks up. He's had enough of this qualifying session and says he can't find any more pace. Martin Shirley the same here. But meanwhile, we have got drivers coming to the line, including Jaroslav Sabula, and we can see that Sabula pulling along Wojciech Swirydowicz behind him. So it's going to be nose to tail. And as they make the way across the line, where is going to be no change for either of them. And with that, it looks as though they'll be locked into what will be P3, P1 respectively. Unless anybody can spring a very late surprise here. I don't think they can. Dan Mole crossed the line. He stays P8. And I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, the only driver who right now is out there on the lap, albeit in fact he's coming into the pits, is Russell Fowler. So it does mean that it's Wojciech Swirydowicz who takes pole position by 2/10 in the emphasis for Semper Racing over William Guthrie. Well, it's a new name on the front row of Guthrie, but Swirydowicz finds himself firmly in pole position in the overall category. And meanwhile, for P6, it's Daniel Downing who takes your pro and pole position and his first class pole position of the season. It was been a stellar pole lap by the best part of 3 tenths over Sam Smith, who starts P18. There's 12 places between the prime pole sitter and second place prime driver Smith, and well, that could definitely go a long way to helping Downing picking up his first win of the season. But will he make it happen? What's to come in race number 1? We're about to find out, ladies and gentlemen, as we make our way to the grid. And as our drivers get themselves set, this is how they'll line up for our first race of the day. It's Wojciech Swirydowicz who takes pole position for Semper Racing, joined on the front row by Full Tilt B Motorsport's William Guthrie. On row number 2, it's Jazz Stabila for Semper Racing and NXTGEN Pink's Benjamin McCluskey. With row number 3, P5 going to Andrew Pyatt for iRacing Esports on his debut for this season. And Daniel Downing, your prime pole sitter for Goldwing Motorsport, starts P6. Congratulations to him on his first class pole position. We then have P7 Adam Delman for SRL NXTGEN, joined there by Dan Mould, his teammate. And then to complete the top 10 on row number 5, it's Paul Zanatachi and Luciano Vitfoot there for Bram Esports behind the Affinity driver. Martin Shirley starts P11 best rest for RD Simsport, joined on the 6th row by Reese Watt for JW Motorsport. Great qualifying from both of them. And on row number 7, it's Lee Horn for NextGen with Sam Cases and Russell Fowler for Performance Link Esports, with Jamie Dory for NextGen Pink and Double Sim Racing's Joseph Doe will contest in row number 8. Row 9 goes to Mikey Doe for Double Sim Racing and Sam Smith for iRacing Esports, your second place prime driver there. Head of third place prime driver Isaac Doe for Double Sim Racing and Wayne Douglas for NextGen Pink, who completes your top 20. The 11th row goes to Nick Clemens and Mark Sykes, were then followed up by Jay Clay and Duncan Atmarais on row number 12. And on row number 13, it will be Ian Manners and Harley Bicknell in a season best qualifying performance for Harley Bicknell for JW Motorsports. Congratulations to him. Matthew Sheraton and Matthew Addy line up on row 14, ahead of Alan McCain and Alex Everett, who complete what is your top 30. And then on row number 16, it will be Piotr Jugoslewski for what is his first qualifying session, P31 for Semper Racing, joined on the road by Sam Van Alst by Goldwing Motorsport. And then we'll have Jonathan Collins at P33 for Risky Runners Racing, ahead of Craig Tiddleston for FR20 Sim Racing. And starting last but not least, it will be Luke Jones for JW Motorsport, P35. We'll be do keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Craig Tiddleston is required to start from the pit lane, I do believe, due to the car swap. So Luke Jones and Craig Tiddleston will both start from the pit lane, so therefore they'll be starting P34, P35 off circuit, and we are only 1 or 2 cars away from going green flag racing. And when we do, will it be this man who takes the win? Or will it be his rival behind him? Well, here come the lights, and it's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for our first race of the day. And Wojciech Swirydowicz gets a good start of the line, but look at Joseph Sabula meanwhile, gets the jump on Guthrie as they make their way down towards turn number 1. It's going to get very tight down here into the opening corner as they make their way onto the brakes. Everyone comes on down, contact there between Sabula and Swirydowicz. They all make their way on through, and as everyone comes on through, we can see that Russell Fowler making a 3-for-1 pass on the braking, but now on the outside gets elbowed out as everyone comes on through. A bit of contact there between Mark Sykes and Duncan Rise, but they manage to settle their differences between them and come back on through. But meanwhile, back to the front of the field as they all make their way into turn number 3. We can see here Andrew Pyatt already tapping on the rear of Benjamin McCluskey. All the drivers have safely made it through the opening corner, and as they make their way on through triple now, up towards turns 4, 5 and 6 they go. We see everyone now starting to settle down into one line astern, albeit not so further back, as Lee Horn here finding what is both Moki Doble and Josie Doble cutting away at the inside into turn 4. Horn not backing off, run wide there for what is Sam Smith as he tries to bring it back together into turn 7, but once you pick up the dirt on cold tyres, you're going to be drifting. And as they make the way through turn number 7, Lee Horn blazing his way on through as both Mikey Doble and Josie Doble lose out there. Brilliant racing from Lee Horn to capitalise on the situation. Mikey Doble loses the rear of the car, catches it just in time, but it goes to the gravel. And I think they're being offset and a bit of contact perhaps going for the McDonald chicane. But the Double Sim Racing driver still in this race, but falling a long way down the order now as they make their way down the back straight. But meanwhile, looking up to Russell Fowler up the inside there of Jamie Dory. And Fowler right now absolutely digging his teeth into the racing here as he makes his way in towards turn number 13. A great start from Fowler, couldn't quite convert the place he went for into turn number 1, but lunged it up the inside. Very brave to do so. And as he makes his way out of the final corner, after 1 lap of racing, it is Wojciech Swirydowicz who leads ahead of Jazz Sabila P2, William Guthrie P3, Benjamin McCluskey P4, Andrew Pyatt P5, Adam Delman P6, Daniel Downing, your prime leader P7, ahead of Dan Moll P8, Paul Zanatachi P9, Luciano Vitfoot P10, and then Reese Watt Besteres P11 as they make their way through turns 1 and 2 for the second time. But meanwhile, there's been something that's gone very wrong for Jamie Dory. He's pointing in the wrong direction underneath our cameraman. We can't quite tell you what's happened, but but he's dropped all the way down the order as meanwhile into the pits of Sam Van Alsten, Jonathan Collins and Jay Calais. So I wonder if they've potentially been caught a jump start where they picked up some major damage into turn number 1, but either way their races have gone astray. But meanwhile, just in front here we do have Jugoslavski versus one is Alan McCain, as it's going to be a battle between the two prime drivers, and Mikey Doble trying to muscle his way on through. He'll be keen to try and make some places. They make the way up into triple, but you can see the Semper Racing driver being pushed along a little bit by McCain as Doble has to try and get himself on the inside, nose in, but it's not going to work there as they come into 5. Jugoslavski goes a little bit wide, brings it now back onto the inside of turn number 7, goes defensive. McCain loses the rear of the car in return. The rear bias that Elantra catch him out, but there's contact there between Mikey Doble and Jugoslavski as they make the way out to 7. And here comes Ian Manners, albeit he backs out of it, wanting to be cautious. Meanwhile, Harley Bicknell's off into the gravel at turn number 10. Not quite what sure what's happened there to JDO Motorsport driver. It's definitely been an eventful second lap, and well, lap number 1, it wasn't eventful enough, some would say. Well, lap number 2's got you covered there. And meanwhile, as we now look back towards just outside the top 10, this is Russell Fowler trying to fend off Lee Horn as they make the way on around for P13. But as they come down towards turn number 14, we see the crowd there absolutely rampacked as they make the way on through the right-hander, and as they do so, well, they follow on through for a battle onto lap number 3. Meanwhile, Dan Mull for SRL Next Gen fend off Senatachi as they make the way in towards turn number 1, and once more onto the anchors they go. Senatachi in the inside, and meanwhile Vitford trying to look around the outside in the Brabham Esports machine, that wonderful green and gold livery. Contact between the two of them, slight door rub. There's going to be more of it there as they come on through, but it is going to be a move in the end that Vitford does find his way on through, and Senatachi loses out the place. They make the way out to turn 2 and up towards turn number 3 for the third time asking, and here comes Reeswatt as well. Watt now trying to get involved here as they make the way into the braking zone, but the big question some of you may have is what exactly happened to Jamie Dory on lap number 2? Well, here's a replay and we can find out exactly what happened. Well, they made the way down towards turn number 1. That was Lee Horn behind Russell Fowler on the inside. Was there contact between any member of the trio? There was a tab, in fact, a small rub that led to Jamie Dory being turned around there as the car also went to the grass with the rear, what was a right-hand tyre from the driver's perspective, and that led to the spin. And meanwhile, what happened to Harley Bicknell? We saw him off track only moments ago, and this was the battle through McDonald's chicane, fighting there one of the Goldwing Motorsports drivers, and in the end, contact between the two, Bicknell coming off worse, and the number 99 driver just missing the tyre barrier, thank goodness, but that could have been curtains for his race. But meanwhile, return to you live at Racing Pictures, ladies and gentlemen, and as we do, well, right now Dan Mould and Adam Delman still fighting one another hard. We cut away from it briefly moments ago, but as we return, the SRL Next Gen drivers holding together here, as meanwhile Vitford and Zanatachi have fallen a bit further back behind, but we have had a major incident for Russell Fowler further down the order, which has dropped him a long way down. In fact, it must be said, I think Jonathan Collins has also been involved in a bit of an altercation, but still we'll try and catch up with what happened there shortly as they go into lap number 4. Drives charging away down the start finish straight in towards the braking zone for the opening corner, and as they come on down here, you can see everybody concertina in together. Sam Smith meanwhile trying to make a bit more progress here behind Lee Horn. He's eager to try and hunt down Daniel Downey, who still has 8 places between himself and Smith, so right now Downey very secure in the lead of what is the prime class. But you can understand right now if Smith wants to make that progress, given the fact he has got what is a resurgent Isaac Doble not too far behind him, albeit the two of them separated by older brother of Joseph Doble. But here is the double sim racing driver who's trying to make some further progress as they make the way on through turn number 3 up into 4 through triple F they go shortly. But as they do, here comes Smith on Horn looking on the inside here. This is going to be bold from Smith to go for it, given that Horn will fight around the outside to get the inside of 7. Neither driver wants to back out here. Smith all in, Horn all in, but look at that, they both go slightly deep, and as a result Joseph Doble thinks about getting involved here as we ride on board and look back from the rear of Lee Horn's car. Face full of the Elantra's bonnet there as they make the way on through, almost taking the camera off the car as they make the way through McDonald's. And right now Lee Horn absolutely holding on for dear life in P13 as Martin Shirley's 2 seconds up the road and putting away. You can see a flash of lights there from Smith trying to distract Horn, but Horn seeing it all in the bird. Indeed, all these guys avid touring car fans, they know all the tricks of the trade, but there's going to be one trick made here as there's contact between Smith and Horn off into the gravel. Smith, I think, would argue had the right to the inside line of turn number 12. I think Horn would see it differently. That might be one that goes to the stewards after all the racing today, but definitely a bit of bump between the two of them. No love lost there as they make the way back to the racing, but Lee Horn demoted 3 places as a result, and as they make the way up towards the start finish line to go on to the next lap, Horn right now will be building up once again and going back on the attack shortly and surely. as he heads in towards the braking zone. But as they do, meanwhile, Mark Sykes behind Nick Clemens in the rear of the picture. We focus on them now, and Sykes looking for an opportunity as he makes his way on through turn at number 1 into cars bouncing over that apex curve, shattering the suspension as they make their way through the right-hander of turn number 2. And as they do, meanwhile, Sam Smith under pressure here from Joseph Doble just in front. Now, Joseph will have seen that battle between Smith and Horn and will be wary of it as he goes very deep and wide there. Joseph Doble, an unexpected error, going a bit too high on the camber at turn number 3. It's possible to overtake around the outside. I mean, carrying too much speed for what the car could handle there. And as they make that into the corner, well, now it's going to be Isaac Doble battling with Lee Horn. And Lee Horn is going to try and defend the inside of turn number 7 all the same. Meanwhile, Isaac here trying to go round the outside and in the end can't quite find it. And has to back off as a result. But eager to try and make progress. But at the same time, I think cognizant that he doesn't want to lose what is a guaranteed podium finish in the Pro-Am class here by making an error in his battle with Lee Horn. Not to say that Lee Horn would knock him off the road or anything, but I think just wary of the fact there are risks with this, and do you play it safe or do you play the risks out? Meanwhile, we look back up to inside the top 10 here because there's plenty of battling unfolding as well. This is Dan Mould battling with Zenatachi and Free Swap. We cut away from them earlier when they were starting to get frisky, but now we're back with them once again, and the SRL Next Gen driver having been passed by Vitford very shortly as they make the way down into turn number 14, and as they come through the right-hander, well, it looks so no change coming out the corner, but we do have to understand how exactly Vitford made his way on through, and in fact we might be able to get what is a replay of what exactly happened there very shortly, because Adam Delman and Vitford have both found their way past Dan Mould, and we do have a quick replay to explain the story. Since it was coming down the back straight, we focus on Adam Delmont here in terms of our camera, and looks up the inside of what is Mould, going on the inside, and look at Vitford just absolutely seeing a golden opportunity and going all in there. Now, was there a problem for Mould? Was there a potential slowdown that had been attributed to his car? We're not quite sure as we return to live pictures, but we can tell you is there that I think Delmont was given the all clear by his teammate to make his way through, and Vitford just saw the door open and said, well, don't mind if I do, and I don't think anybody expected that to happen, but absolute great opportunism from the Brabham Esports driver, and as he makes his way on through triple, we jump on board here with the number 60 driver as he makes his way in towards turn number 7. So he makes his way on through the right-hander all the way through here. You can see the differences in line, trying to take an earlier apex in order to get the better launch of the corner compared to Delmont to set the run up through the McDonald's chicane into McDonald's corner. And here again, Vitford just able to attack that apex a little bit more aggressively in the early stages, and that's what's giving him the ability to stay nice and close. But Delmont, to be fair, getting a good run off the corner in the Honda, and now as they make their way onto the brakes here, nothing between the Honda driver in front of the Velocity driver we're riding on board with. It does seem as though the Brabham Esports driver Vitford has a slight pace advantage, but the problem is Delmont's going to make him earn every thousandth of a second to get closer and closer, try and make that move happen. We know Delmont, he may not be the fastest driver out there, but when he wants to, he can be absolutely stubborn as a mule in making sure that you can't find a way past as they make their way through turn number 14. And they have a slight error coming out of the corner, ran a bit wide. As a result, gap opening back up to 3.5 tenths. They make their way down towards turn number 1. And it's the second half of this race now. No safety car so far, and long may it continue. And as they come through left into right, then Delmont again going slightly deeper for getting very close, but just not able to find a way through. It's too tight between the two apex of turns 1 and 2, and Delmont able to stop the car in time before it started to go wayward. But as they make their way up towards turn at number 3, meanwhile we look back to Isaac Doble here battling with Nick Clemens. Mark Sykes now encroaching on the rear of the number 65 driver, and Sykes are looking for his first Pro-Am podium of the season as they make their way into the left-hander of Frey. Now coming on through here, well, Isaac Doble will be looking more and more rearwards here, with Nick Clemens right now clearly not quite on the pace of the cars in front and matching Doble's pace. But the problem is here for the number 65 driver, as much as he wants to attack, he's got to worry about what's coming up behind him and making sure to keep the points on flying as they make the way on through. But as they do, you can see that Clemens goes a bit deep. Doble just not able to find his way through. But meanwhile, we look back to the battle for P2 overall, and this is William Guthrie coming through past Jaroslav Sabula, finding his way back into P2, but it's not over yet as Andrew Pike comes on through along with Benjamin McCluskey. I think a rare error there for the Semper Racing driver Sabula, and that's enabled the free drivers to come through from McDonald's down the back straight. But what exactly triggered that off is the big question. Well, here we have a quick replay to find out. They made the way through, but Donald, I think there might have been a bit of contact there was between Guthrie and Sabula, and in the end that led to Guthrie coming on through. Now, was that a push to pass or not? Do let us know what you think in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. But right now we don't have enough footage, but it does look as though there's a bit of an entanglement between the two of them as they make the way in towards turns 11 and 12. Well, right now drivers coming through right into left here, and that's what led to the release of the positions as they make their way down towards turn number 1. Now coming on through, meanwhile Daniel Downing, well, looking up the inside there, I think he might have been doing that just as much to break into clean air as he would have been to try and also say to Sevilla, look, if you don't get a move on, I'm going to try and make a move on you. But either way, right now, Daniel Dan, the Prime leader, looking eager to gain some more overall points. He's not satisfied with P6 overall, and well, will he be able to continue? Given the fact that right now, if he finishes P6, he is guaranteed to be on that reverse grid, because remember, it's P6 through to P12 that are the eligible positions. So number 17 driver doesn't really need to do anything at this point. He is arguably in the perfect position as the Prime leader to guarantee he's on the reverse grid, and he's going to have a great shot at what would be a win in race number 2 in the class as well, all being well. Of course, Lady Luck not intervening. When you're racing, you want more places, and the tactician in your mind normally takes a back seat, albeit as they make the way on through here. I wonder if Goldwing Motorsports team's principals might be on the radio to Downing saying, just stay where you are, bring this one home. It's important for race number 2, and it could be some big points here today. But as they make the way on down the back straight, we take a quick glance in to the respective chats, including saying hello there to Spinks 1985, who is enjoying the racing. We also say hello in the Facebook there to John Meredith, who says Alex is in. Alex Meredith sends his apologies, he can't make it, he's in bed with a heavy cold, and sorry to hear that Alex Meredith is feeling unwell, and sorry to hear that, John. I hope meanwhile you and both Catherine are doing well, doing all you can in order to be cheered on the RD Simsport guys tonight, of course, Alex Meredith's team. And indeed, well, if Alex is able to be on the grid, we still wish him a Merry Christmas going into the second half of the season, and indeed going into the Christmas break. But meanwhile, going into the battling here, this is Jamie Dory and Alex Everett, two old friends turned rivals as they make the way through at turns 14 and onto the start finish straight. And Everett right now trying to keep Dory behind as they make the way down the back straight here. Battle of the Prime versus the Pro, and right now for the 13 driver, just trying to make some more progress in what's been a difficult race so far. As we saw briefly off camera there, Reese Watt up the inside of Mikey Doble in towards turn number 1. Onto the brakes they all go, and no change between the drivers here as they come between the apexes. Everett right now just keeping it cool and carrying on, and they're going to try and bring home P8 in the Prime class, especially with Alan McCain right behind Dory, and therefore that's the big concern for Everett. He wants to keep Dory as a buffer, arguably, in order to make sure he doesn't get past the position. But as they head on through turn at number 3, it looks like things will stagnate for a brief moment. Meanwhile, one driver is not going to have things stagnate as we ride on board and look back from the rear, the JW Motorsport 32. This is the battle for P18 overall between Reese Watt and Mikey Doble, and well, both drivers having a difficult day so far. But as they make the way on through turn at number 7 up towards the Dodge chicane, turns 8-9, you can see there Doble having to back off right now, trying to set up the run through 10. You've got the queue of cars of Addy, Sheraton and Rise behind the 3 Primes, all down for P5 in the Prime class on the back of this Pro battle. And as they make their way down the back straight here, will Reese Watt right now feeling comfortable. And he's got a lot less success ballast in the car. In fact, he doesn't have any success ballast in the car compared to Mikey Doble, so that Audi is going to feel much more comfortable on the straights, and it's also going to feel a bit more secure in the corners by comparison compared to the Veloster driver, who right now is juggling the best part of 40 kilograms of success ballast from quarter to quarter, straight to straight. As they make their way through turn at number 14 of the apex, they go and out onto the start finish straight. You can see here nose to tail all the way down, but meanwhile Doble, he's staying close, 2.5 tenths is the gap, but he's not really able to close, and this is where the Audi just has the advantage. It's got the speed, and that's why this Audi becomes so difficult to pass when you're stuck behind one, when it's got no success ballast in it. It's a speed demon on the straights, and it just gives it enough leverage to stay clear unless you're going to be very brazen in the corners. But as they make the way out to turn number 2 and onwards towards 3, when we do look from them to a bit further up the field to Joseph Doble, right now P12 overall, and in the last eligible position for the potential reverse grid of race number 2. He's got Lee Horn for company behind, Paul Zanatachi at P11 just in front. And as they make the way on through the triple apex and in towards turn at number 7 here, through the long right they go in a similar fashion to Hotel Corner at turn number 2. They wind the cars up and charge out, and with that Joseph Doble definitely falling more and more into the clutches of Lee Horn. But again, do keep in mind that Joseph Doble right now running the best part of 20 kilograms of success ballast. Horn's got no ballast in the car by comparison, and that is going to mean that Veloster is going to feel very cumbersome as he makes his way on it down the back straight. But Zanatachi meanwhile looking up the inside for his P10 versus Martin Shirley, the final top 10 spot here, and the Affinity driver eager to try and make some headway back into the positions as they come on through turn number 13 and up towards Zeppelin curve very shortly. But as they make their way onto the brakes, we do look to the helicopter camera here as we follow them on through, and you just see no difference at the moment. So equal these 3 in terms of their laps and their approaches to the racing line. And as they make their way onto the penultimate lap of this first race of the day, Well, coming on down towards turn at number 1 they go, and as they do so, it's triplets aplenty in terms of drivers together. But meanwhile, speaking of drivers who are still fighting for position, we do look to Matthew Addy, who right now really putting the pressure on Mikey Doble coming down to turn at number 1. Well, Reswat definitely being the cork in the bottle for these 5 drivers, and Mikey Doble in return trying to knock down the door and make those places flow. But the problem is, every time he takes a look, it's going to be Addy, Cheverton and Moraes who have the opportunity to then have a look at him in return. I don't think there's going to be any change here for now. Meanwhile, changes a foot further on down the order, with Alex Everett being passed by Jamie Dory, and now this is Jugoslavski versus Alan McCain. McCain on the inside, Jugoslavski on the outside, and as they make their way in towards turn number 3, side by side they go. The iRacing Esports driver fighting for this position, finds his way on through, and the Czech driver in the end falling back to P26, or it's P10 in the prime class, still on course to gain some great points in his debut race of the season. For the 79 driver now, I think we'll be watching to see if McCain and Everett fight and whether he can get back into that battle before all of this is said and done. They've got one more lap to go after this, but great fight between the two. And McCain right now absolutely fired up, it must be said, as he makes his way out of turn number 7, riding hard on the rear of Everett as they make their way into McDonald's at 10. And you see they're cutting back over the apex. It's a great run from McCain. This could be enough. He's going to have to go all in on the brakes, so that Honda's going to be stronger. But he's going to look up the inside as they make their way into the braking zone. Side by side they go there. McCain all in on the anchors. Meanwhile, Everett on the outside, contact between the two, a nasty shunt between the two. As they make their way through, they both push each other off. Jugoslavski tries to find the space. He's into the tyre barrier as Everett brings the car back together. And the Semper Racing driver, who was trying to pick up 2 for the price of 1, ends up with a severely damaged suspension. And I think that's going to be a trawl to the pits of the 79 driver in what is a heartbreaking moment for the debutant. But meanwhile, from one Semper Racing driver misfortune to one right now who's leading by a comfortable margin of 8/10, it's Wojciech Swirydowicz who's gone on to the final lap of this race. And as the Semper Racing driver makes his way into turns 4, 5 and 6, right now with 8/10 to play with here, he won't feel too much pressure. He'll know all he's got to do is manage this final lap, keep it calm, keep it collected, and it's going to be the first win of the day in the books. He makes his way out to turn number 7. Guthrie and McCluskey, they're staying close, but not close enough to try and intimidate or force the move. And as they make their way through McDonald's here, well, right now Andrew Pike meanwhile in a bit of a lonely P4. He's not close to the top 3, but he's far away from P5 downwards, and I think for Pike it's going to be a great start to his season, albeit a limited half of the season, but a happy one all the same. But meanwhile, nothing can detract from the fact that as they make their way through the last couple of quarters here into turn number 13, 2 corners to go, and then it was 1, and as Swirydowicz comes out into towards the final corner here, past the absolutely packed out crowd, when it is going to be a checker flag that waves, and for Wojciech Swirydowicz, it's going to be the first win of the day to add to his pole position in qualifying. It's a win for the number 80 driver, ahead of William Guthrie P2, Benjamin McCluskey P3. It will then be Andrew Pike P4 ahead of Jaroslav Sabula, and in the first of his NXTCC career, Daniel Downing takes P6, and for Golding Motorsport, that's what is the first prime win of his season in that position, ahead of Adam Delman, Luciano Vitford, then Dan Mould, and was Martin Shirley to complete your top 10. Paul Zantochi P11, and then further on down the field, Sam Smith P14, runner-up in the prime class, ahead of what was Nick Clemens and Isaac Doble, third place in the prime class, with Mark Sykes huffing and puffing, but in the end finishing 4/10 by P4 in the class there, in a great run of form of the 2 drivers. We've still got more drivers to finish this race, including Craig Tillerston, as he heads to the line for FR20 Sim Racing, and that change to Honda definitely seems to have boded well, in the fact that he's finished P11 in the prime class and some great points to the board from P28 overall. Sam Van Ol's P29 meanwhile, in a difficult start to his day for the Goldwing Motorsport driver, and then it will be Russell Fowler P30, but meanwhile we've got to change of places right at the end with Ian Manners. Will slow down there. Let's go release Jay Klein to P31. Ian Manners will be P32 at the checkered flag, and when we do have what is 2 more drivers to come through, it will be Piotr Jugoslavski who will be coming through shortly, P33 for what is Semper Racing, and then last but not least, 4 seconds behind, Jonathan Collins, P34 out of 35 starters. The Whiskey Runners Racing driver there finishes P15 in the prime class and picks up the final points paying positions of the pro and finishing positions. We have the one retirement of Luke Jones, unfortunately able to make it to the grid, but still, ladies and gentlemen, plenty of racing, our first race of the day, and as all of our drivers very quickly make their way to the pit lane, they're all fired up already for race number 2, I can imagine. Well, right now, this man, can anybody find a way to prevent Wojciech Swirydowicz from winning. He seems to have an unstoppable combination today, and after that pole position this win in race number 1, he'll believe that finishing on the podium in race number 2 is highly possible, if not back-to-back wins. But still, all come down to how big that reverse grid is going to be in our second race today, and the same for Daniel Downing, who's already made his way into the pit box and out of the car. He's celebrating it with the team as all our drivers make their way down. It's a first and a 5th place for Semper Race inside that top 5. Joseph Spieler not quite able to make it a 1-2, but he'll be happy with his performance all the same. And Isaac Doble back onto the podium of the Prime class. They were P16 overall, P3 in the class. Definitely a great way to start off as everyone now cools it down and gets set for the second race. As all our drivers make their way into the pit lane, let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and we'll shortly, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, here they are. And after a fantastic initial 12 laps of racing here in the NXTCC Season 5, powered by IMB Racewear, and indeed brought to you on iRacing in round number 6 at the Oschersleben circuit, Wojciech Swirydowicz taking up the win for Semper Racing by 8.5 tenths in the end over William Guthrie P2. The full tilt B Motorsport driver will be happy he finished where he started, but I think he would have liked to have had an opportunity to try and fight for the win, albeit a poor start prevented that from happening. But meanwhile, a great start today as well for Benjamin McCluskey, P3 for NXTGEN Pink, and fending off Andrew Pike in the end, who finished 1.5 seconds, I should say, further behind. The Irish Esports driver on his debut for this season at P4, ahead of Jaroslav Sabula, P5 there for the Semper Racing driver, and then outside the top 5, P6 and the prime win for Daniel Downing for Goldwing Motorsport, his first prime win of the season, indeed his NXTCC career. Congratulations to him, he'll be absolutely pleased with that, and will line himself up perfectly for an opportunity to go for a second win in race number 2. Adam Delwant, P7 for SRL NextGen, and the great battle of Luciano Vitford for Brammer Esports, and then Dan Mould and Martin Shirley completing your top 10 for SRL NextGen and RD Simsport. Paul Zanatachi, PLM for Affinity, just missing out on the top 10 there by 3 attempts when all was said and done. And a bit of a frustrating first race today, and indeed those frustrations of the season continue to follow the Veloster driver in the fact he's been a top 10 contender, but it seems though every time he's muscled a bit further down the order, but still more racing to come for the number 14 driver. And the same for Josie Dole, P12 there for Doble Sim Racing, had to fight his way into P12, but in the last of the eligible reverse grid positions, could we see him on pole for race number 2? Lee Horn, P13 for NextGen with Sam Cases, head of Sam Smith, your runner-up in the prime class for iRacing Esports, and then round off the top 15 teammates pick up the last overall point of the championship. We can see Nick Clemens there at P15. Isaac Doble rounds off the prime podium of what was Downing, Smith and Doble, with the double sim racing drive finishing P16. Fend off Mark Sykes the line there with the NextGen with Sam Cases drive picking up his best performance of the season thus far, and then wrapping up the top 20 there we can see Reese Watt, Mikey Doble and Matthew Addy. Matthew Sheraton just missing out in the top 5 of the prime class, but P6 in the class still for the Aztec Racing driver, and we're at P21 ahead of Duncan Rise, with the Goldwing Motorsport driver being followed up by Jamie Dory, Alan McCain and Harley Bicknell. And you've got to for the JW Motorsport driver P25, and what could have been his first top 5 in the prime class this season, but an incident at McDonald's preventing that from happening, but still 2 more races to go. Alex Everett, P26, had a Wayne Douglas, with Craig Tillotson at P28, and then behind the FR20 sim racing drivers to complete the top 30, Sam Van Olst and Russell Fowler, with Jay Clay P31 ahead of Ian Manners, and then to wrap up the finishing positions on circuit, Piotr Jikoslewski, P33 there for Semper Racing on his debut, and Jonathan Collins, the last of the finishers on the lead lap for Whiskey Runners Racing at P34. Lou Jones was sole non-starter, P35 there for JW Motorsport. He'll be classified as a non-starter as he did not complete over the half the race distance, but otherwise out of 34 starters, all 34 finishing, and we've still got 2 more races to come. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, here's our schedule once again, and as we can see, we'll be back just before 9 o'clock for the build-up to race number 2, but of course to take us to race number 2, we do have that one big question of what is our reverse grid draw. Without further ado, we cut to the commentary booth, and good evening to you all. I hope you're enjoying the racing so far, and if you are suffering from a little bit of Christmas stress, hopefully in the run up to Christmas, this racing today will turn your frown upside down and into a big and glorified smile. But we have our lottery bowl here as always with the numbers 6 through to 12, and very shortly I'm going to close my eyes, shuffle the balls and draw one out of the bowl, and that'll be our reverse grid for our second race of the day. Without further ado, let's get to it. Shuffle complete, and now we do our draw. And our first number of the day It is going to be Lucky Sevens. It's P7, which does mean, I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, as we look to our standings, Adam Delmont will be your pole sitter for race number 2 and joined on the front row by your prime winner from race number 1 of Daniel Downing. Could we see sparks fly between them into turn number 1? All that and more is coming up in due course. We'll find out then, but we're going to take a step away for a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, but not without a word from our sponsor, which is IMB Racewear, and after which we'll be back for what will be an interview with the CEO of IMB Racewear of Ian Berryman. We're looking forward to that. We'll be back very shortly for all that and plenty more to come. So as we return, ladies and gentlemen, we are shortly going to be hearing from CEO and owner of IMB Racewear, Ian Berryman, who I do believe is just getting set at the moment, but we're going to be hearing from him very shortly. But in the meantime, of course, IMB Racewear being our title sponsor for this season, and indeed this is the NXTCC powered by IMB Racewear, and well, it'd be great to hear from the CEO himself. We heard from him earlier in the season, particularly our season open at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, talking about IMB Racewear in terms of their background and in terms of their future direction, everything in between. And we're going to be trying to hear a few words from the man himself in order to find out a little bit more about what's in store going into 2024, if he's allowed to give us any insider knowledge, albeit I think we might be limited on that to a degree, given the fact that things are normally under non-disclosure agreements, but also we will have that opportunity to find out what will be his thoughts on the run-up to Christmas in terms of the ideal Christmas present when it comes to what is sim racing and sim racing gear. But we are just waiting for confirmation that he is able to join us. But in the meantime, whilst we are waiting for Ian to be with us, just to give you another reminder of IMB Racewear, if you are wondering what they're all about, well, we should point out that IMB Racewear, of course, it's a sim racing and real-life racing wear provider that provides itself an individuality with their fully customized designs, enabling you to make the impact you've always wanted to on track, as their gear is designed for you, by you. And do head to their website, imbracewear.com, to find out more about their fully customizable product range, which brings benefits to you, and you cannot get these benefits from anywhere else in terms of off-the-shelf products. And these benefits do include, of course, what would be things such as absolutely wonderful materials, also team custom wear, in the fact that you can customize the gear all the way down to the specific logos that appear on lapels and what is on, say, the inside of gloves and whatnot. And the fact that the gear is not just for sim racing, it's also for real world racing, I do believe, and everything in between. And therefore there's never been a better time to get yourself into simulated motorsport, indeed real motorsport, and you do need all the gear to go with it. And IMB Racewear are really at the precipice when it comes to some of the finest gear out there in the industry. Although we are still waiting for a word from Ian, I think he might be running a little bit late. In fact, so we are hopefully going to catch up with him. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, what I think we are going to do is we are going to do a transition to race number 2. We'll be right back, and in the meantime, when we do get the chance to catch up with Ian, we will be cutting back to our interview with him. So we will see you in approximately what will be 5 minutes time, if not sooner. But until then, get yourself set. If you haven't got yourself a nice cool beverage or warm beverage, given it's the winter season, then do so, because the race action is going to be coming hot and fast in race number 2, and well, it may just melt the ice that's forming around some of us as that winter season gets a bit chilly. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for the build-up to race number 2, and here we go with regards to another 12 laps of racing at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in round 6 of the NXTCC Season 5, powered by IMB Racewear and brought to you on iRacing. Now, we do apologise, it seems like we haven't been able to quite get hooked up with Ian. I think might be a bit of a delay to him becoming available for interview this evening, but still in his absence at this time, what we're going to do, we're going to charge forward into race number 2, and we'll hopefully catch a word with Ian Berryman, the CEO and owner of IMB Racewear, in between races at 2 and 3. What that does give us time for, given we've got a couple of minutes before we go racing once again, it's time to catch up with 1 or 2 of our drivers in the build-up to our second race a day, and well, we are going to try and grab a quick word with a couple of drivers down in the paddock, including, I do believe, some of the Doble brothers, and we may just be starting off with none other than a quick word with Isaac Doble, who is not out on circuit. He's currently in the pit lane, but we will look to Mikey Doble in the meantime as he makes his way on through, and in fact we will just try and catch that quick word with Isaac Doble very shortly as we're getting the patch route set up to him down in at the pit lane. And as we do get a quick word with him now, Isaac, do you have a quick 30 seconds for the broadcast?
Yeah, I do.
Isaac, looking as though you're back on form after what was a difficult day at the Nürburgring. How are you feeling so far after race number 1?
Yeah, race number 1 I thought was a really solid race for me, picking up P3 with a couple of rivals not doing so well, and this track is just a lot more fun to drive in my opinion than Nürburgring. Seems to be going quite well for me.
Well, it's all looking good so far, and like you say, circuit does seem to be suiting you, but I have to ask you, given the pace that we've seen from Daniel Downing in qualifying in race number 1, does it look as though he's a bit too far at your reach, or are you just gradually chiseling away at him?
Oh, for this meeting, yes, probably. Maybe if I get a good draw and race 3 reverse grid, then should be able to pick some points off him there. If not, if I miss it, then he'll be long gone up the road.
Well, Isaac, we'll leave you to it with only 30 seconds to go. Best luck in race number 2.
Yeah, thank you.
So hearing that there briefly from Isaac Doble, as we just seen brother Mikey make his way back into the pit lane. Interesting to hear his thoughts. They're feeling quite confident with regards to how things are going so far. And I think right now for Isaac, it's definitely going to be all business as usual after what seemed to be a bit of a hiccup last time out at the Nürburgring. And saying the circuit does seem to favour him quite nicely. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, all that and more is about to be unveiled. It is time for race number 2. Who will be our winners? Could we see Daniel Downing make it 2 out of 2 in the prime class? Can Wojciech Swirydowicz fight his way from maximum success fast from P7 to take the win? Well, let's find out. So as drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for our second race of the day. It is Adam Delman who starts on pole position for SRL NXTGEN, joined on the front row by Daniel Downing for Goldwing Motorsport, your prime pole sitter. Janice Sabula and Andrew Pipe for Semper Race and iRacing Esports make up row number 2, with row 3 going to Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Ping and Full Tilt B Motorsports William Guthrie. Row 4 goes to Wojciech Swirydowicz and Luciano Vitford for Bradman Esports, and behind the Semper Racing driver in the line P9 is SRL NXTGEN's Dan Mould, joined by Martin Shirley for RD Simsport to complete your top 10. It will then be P11 Paul Zanatachi for Affinity ahead of Joe Zadol for Double Sim Racing, and then we'll have it on row at number 7 Lee Horn and Sam Smith, followed up by Nick Clemens and Isaac Doble, and then on row number 9 Mark Sykes and Reswap ahead of top 20 completing drivers Mikey Doble and Matthew Addy. On row number 11 Matthew Sheraton and Duncan Moraes ahead of Jamie Dory and Alan McCain on row at number 12. Row 13 goes to Harley Bicknell and Alex Everett, with Wayne Douglas. We'll have to stop there, ladies and gentlemen, because we've been given the green light signal, and it is going to be the lights out in red 1, red 2, red 3, red 4, red 5, national art, and it is going to be as a full start there for Daniel Downing. Lights out, away we go, but Daniel Downing will have a drive-through penalty as a result of that full start, and as our drivers make the way down towards turn number 1, well, Adam Delman may not lead, but he doesn't need to. He knows the lead's going to come to him after the first lap, but as they make the way down to break it, he's going to get very tight, 3 wide behind. That's Guthrie up the inside of Swirydowicz, and also Wood is Vitford, but Vitford comes back. Swirydowicz backs out 9 and 3 does not go into 1, and as they make the way on through turn number 2, well, right now it's looking very tasty there as Vitford has made his places up. In fact, he's gained place on Swirydowicz, on also Guthrie, and he's already up there into what is P6. But as they make the way through the long left-hander here, right now it's going to be Dan Mould on the outside of Swirydowicz. as they roll off and head on towards turn number 4, charging their way now in towards the next braking zone. Meanwhile, Swirydowicz holds on the inside here. Further back, we can see what is a bit of a battle building between Racewear and Mark Sykes. We'll come to it shortly, but it is going to be Swirydowicz who gets ahead of Dan Mould in the end, as they head onto the brakes, and there it's going to be a movement to Anatachi, an attempt versus Dan Mould, but he can't quite find it as they come out to turn number 7 and up towards the Bentold chicane they go. But meanwhile, point of focus in the rear of the picture was Racewear, battling with Matthew Sheraton and Matthew Addy, with Mark Sykes also in the mix, albeit Mark Sykes has fallen off the circuit since that, and we will take a look back at the race start from further down the order shortly, as the drivers all make their way down the back straight. Now everybody has calmed down once again, tempers are no longer fraying, and indeed everyone's settling into a rhythm here, including Mikey Doe. We're looking up the inside there of brother Isaac, and indeed up the prime second place drive, just backing off in his main ground on Matthew Sheraton at the start. In fact, Matthew Sheraton has gained plenty of place at the start of this race. Isaac Doe up into P2 in the class. Meanwhile, drivers really struggled off the line. What I do believe a little bit further on down the order, Matthew Addy's fallen a long way down, but as the drivers make the way out of turn at number 14. Well, after one lap of races, Daniel Dunn is into the pits. It is Adam Delman who leads ahead of Jazz Savstabula P2, Andrew Pye P3, Benjamin Lutkowski P4, Luciano Bitford P5, William Guthrie P6, Wojciech Swirydowicz P7, battling with Dan Mould still. Mould again, insisting he wants to place on the Semper Racing driver, but still Swirydowicz holding firm. And then Zanatachi P9 ahead of Martin Shirley P10, Lee Horn P11, and now your prime leader with Daniel Doan's full start and the drive-through penalty he's had to serve is Isaac Doble. A bit of fortune's come his way, albeit he's got Matthew Sheraton right behind him, but he's trying to hold on here for what will be the win in this race, and a huge haul of points are coming in as a result. But as he makes his way out of turn number 3, it's easier said than done. And speaking of things being easier said than done, we'll look at this. Alan McCain versus Matthew Addy. They're fighting for P3 in the prime class. Side by side they go into turn 4. Addy cuts it back. McCain parks on apex at 5. Nice defending there from McCain, and it's going to be Addy who's got to try and sliver his way all over the back. A bit of contact to the rear there, a bit of tap of the bumper, further contact as they make the way around. Matthew Addy very eager to make progress here, but right now McCain being obstinate and saying no can do. You're going to have to fight your way through. And speaking of fighting, well, that's Matthew Sheraton battling with Reese. Well, that's going to release Isaac Doble. Doble's already at the bottom of your picture and off into the distance. And as they make the way down, it's going to be 3 wide. Sheraton on the outside. It's going to be Watt in the middle. Douglas on the inside. Goodness me, surely they're not going 3 wide into turn 11. Sheraton losing the rear of the car slightly. Was there contact with Watt? I think there was, as Watt's backed off as a result. Bounced over the curb. Contact with Dory. Everything settles down. It's carnage as Alan McCain's into the wall. Tapped by the cars behind. And in the end, McCain and the concertina effect sent to the tyre barrier. And it's all gone wrong for the 2-1-2 in the space of only 2 corners. But meanwhile, it's not over yet. Further up the field is Luciano Bitford battling here with William Guthrie. These two in the Velocitas fighting hard as they come down towards 1. Hard on the brakes they go. Bitford on the inside, Guthrie on the outside, and in the end it's only going one way, and it's going the way of the Brabham Esports driver as they make the way on through the long right-hander of Hotel Corner. Out they come and up towards turn number 3. No safety car for the instant for McCain, as I understand it, ladies and gentlemen. That instant's already cleared of the circuit, and as they make the way through turn number 3, right now coming through the long left-hander. Further back we do have Nick Clifford's fighting hard here with Mikey Doe. Mikey Doe at the inside. I think the iRacing Esports driver letting nature take its course, which is with Mikey Doe being the faster, it's wiser to simply stay behind the faster driver and let him pull you up to your rivals. But as they make the way on through, more fighting ahead for Matthew Addy as he battles with Alex Everett, and Alex Everett here will make their way through turn 5 into 6 and battling with Addy. He's trying to hold on, contact there between Everett and Addy. It's going to turn Addy sideways and into the gravel, and I would imagine that Matthew Addy's going to be very frustrated at that after running on what was potentially a P3 finish in the prime class. But as they make their way out to turn number 7, he's back up to speed. He drops down to P9 in class, chased after Piotr Jigaslewski, and as they make their way on through turn number 10, making their way on down the back straight, here they come, roaring on down, and just in front Jay Calais chasing after the JW Motorsport pair of Ian Manners and Harley Bicknell as they head on to the anchors firmly and foundly. But Harley Bicknell right now having a great start, moved up to P6 in the prime class, and the JW Motorsport driver here once again trying to tease out a top 5 finish today. Only one more place to go and he may just get it. But as they come through the right hander of 30, he's got to be aware that Ian Manners right now, his teammate tucked in behind, may need him to move aside if there's more progress to be made for Manners, or will he act as the rear guard and sacrifice his race for his teammate who's looking for a big score? Well, all that and more is to come as they make the way down across the start finish line. Jay Calais meanwhile has other ideas. He doesn't want to sit behind Manners, and he's going to mind his manners and make the move here abruptly as they make their way towards turn one onto the brakes, going very late. Can he get it stopped in time? He can indeed. There's a bit of smoke kicking up there. I think that's brake dust from somebody, but meanwhile, here comes Jigoslavski as he looks up the inside. Manners being passed, and as a result, Jigoslavski gets a good move, but we've had drama further up, and that's Lee Horn, and Zanatachi points in the wrong direction as they try to get back together. Lee Horn restarting the car, Zanatachi out to the gravel. Not quite sure what's triggered them off, but I can tell you right now, they're feeding right back into pandemonium here as they come out of turn number 3. Duncan Rise around the outside of Russell Fowler, the Pornsing Esports Audi on the inside as they come into turn number 4. Onwards they go, and then Duncan Rise gets it done, moves up to P5 in the prime class, P20 overall with everything that's happening around him. But my goodness, we thought race 1 was intense. Race number 2 right now is an absolute cacophony as they make their way on through turn number 7 up towards 8 and 9 they go. Everyone's line of stern once again as they roll on through here right now. Everyone teething and jumping at the bit to want to make progress, and that's just further down the order. We look up towards your leaders right now, and here's Adam Delmont versus Jaroslav Sabula as they make the way out of the final couple of corners here to complete the latest lap and go on to lap number 5. And Adam Delmont, after taking the lead of what was that pole position, making his way down towards turn number 1 right now, and he knows that his work is not cut out for him. He's got less success fast in the car compared to his rival, but that's not going to mean anything when Sabula's absolutely looking as though he could win this race today and pick up his first win in his NXTCC career. But Delmont will say otherwise. They make the way through Hotel Corner, but he goes very deep. It's going to cost him the run out of the corner. Will it? Sabula tries to poke his nose in, but in the end he can't poke it any further as they make the way out of 2 and up towards 3 they go. Sabula goes, looking up the inside again, but Delmont better on the brakes than the Honda, but he outbrakes himself there. Car slides, and that sliding is not good for the car in terms of its performance later in the race, because when you slide the contact patch of the tyre, you're overheating the spot, and it's what triggers essentially a flat spot on the tyre. And Delmont right now will be under a lot of pressure to try and avoid flat spotting the tyres any further, because in doing so, he takes the life out of the tyre, and with that, it means that later on the race, he becomes more and more vulnerable, and Sabula will know that. He'll pressure Delmont into more mistakes as they make the way through turns 8 to 9, rolling on through the McDonald chicane. Pike and McCluskey not too far. Vitford also closed up here. We could have the best part of a 7-8 way fight for this win at the end of the race if things carry on as they are. As they make the way down towards turn number 11, we take a look back at what happened between Lee Horn and Paul Zanatachi on what was a little bit earlier in the race. In fact, we can see Lee Horn in the rear, so I think Zanatachi really involved in the crux of this, and it was under braking into turn 3, and in the end, just coming back onto the circuit, a car that was out of control, most likely holding the brakes on, but the Affinity driver just in the end just not able to stop the car, and Horn and what was Martin Shirley in the wrong place at the wrong time, and well, it all unfolded from there. But thankfully all 3 drivers are able to get away with it, or at least get back to the pits without triggering off a further incident. But my goodness, heart and mouth moment there for a good number of them as they made their way on through. But me, I'll return to your live pictures as we reach the halfway point of this race shortly on lap number 6 to 12. And as Adam Delmont here leads still, Jaroslav Sabula still 3 tenths behind, and Andrew Pike closing at a very rapid rate of knots. But from then we look back to Jamie Dory and Alex Everett here. The two of them were exchanging blows in race number 1, but this time I think now Jamie Dory is getting the upper hand immediately here and not being held up, albeit as they make the way through turn number 2. He's going to be under some pressure from Everett, coming out of 2 and up towards 3 in the wind off the corner. Now coming in towards the left-hander, but I think he'll feel safe now that he's using the Audi straight line speed to his advantage, plus also success pass is out the car of the 13. And that means he can leverage the straight line speed acceleration of that Audi even more. But as they make the way up towards turn at number 4, 5 and 6, right now Dory just keeping his head down here and trying to chase after Wayne Douglas in the Douglas Motorsport NXTGEN Racing at Pink Veloster just up the road. You can see it there in his wonderful blue livery machine, and he makes his way on around Jamie Dory right now. Has his man marked, but can he find a way to get closer in the closing stages of this race? From him, we look back here to the Czech driver from Semper Racing, Wojciech Swirydowicz, and as he makes his way on through, one is at turns 8 to 9, we jump on board with the Semper Racing driver chasing after Matthew Addy. This is for P8 in the prime class. Harley Bicknell is the best part of which 2.5 tenths up the road from the pair, and right now Jigoslavski looking for an opportunity here to try and go on the offensive a little bit more, or as they head in towards the braking zone here for 11 to 12, coming into Amman corner now, and you can see the Honda driver just a little bit more confident in attacking the curve compared to the Veloster driver. seems though, despite the fact this Honda very sensitive to curbs normally, they've been able to find something to make it work at Semper Racing, or at least our driver here feels very confident with bouncing the car over the curbs, and Eddie right now really under pressure as they made the way onto lap number 7 shortly in this battle for what's inside the top 10 of the prime class. They've got Ian Manners behind by 4 tenths, and Mark Sykes only a further 2 tenths behind, so they do have further prime rivals who will be looking at this battle and wanting to get involved later on. But right now these two in a little bit of space of their own, as you can see the car bouncing on the shocks as it makes its way out the apex curve of turn 1. This Honda so sensitive to those curves, but Piotr Jegoslavski not just focusing on the racing. It's great to see as they make their way up towards turn number 3. But behind them, Racewear and Mark Sykes here. Racewear going around the outside. This is a P26. Watts committed to the move here. Both drivers really making a tough time as they come out of the corner. You can understand why, but it's right now Sykes does not want to let Daniel Downing get any closer. I don't think it's going to be any change here. Daniel Downing, you're winning race number 1, but after the full start, demoted to the back of the field after lap 1 due to a drive-through penalty. And I think there was a bit of contact there with Sykes. If there wasn't, then Sykes getting it wrong in the braking. But either way, the Goldwing Motorsport driver comes on through. But Mark Sykes said definitely in a bit of a knock to his confidence in the fact running strongly and now losing place as a result. Jonathan Collins has gone through the Whiskey Runners racing driver, making headway at the expense of Sykes, and now Mark Sykes down to P12 in prime, P29 overall as they make the way on down at the back straight. Meanwhile, we do look from them up to what is Sam Van Alst, and Van Alst right now under increasing pressure from Lee Horn, and Van Alst up into P4 in prime. And well, given the fact that Van Alst's first race of the day really was not one I think he wants to remember too soon, given the fact it didn't go quite right, but the Goldwing Motorsport in the second race of the day, right now inside the top 5 of the prime class, and right inside, firmly inside the reverse grid position to the third and final race of the day. He might be getting some flashbacks to Brands Hatch when he did end up on pole for the final race of the day, but the Goldwing Motorsport driver right now won't be thinking too much about that. He'll be thinking about just holding on to his position and keeping Lee Horn and then teammate Duncan Rides behind him in order to bring home some great points for himself and the team. As they come out of turn at number 2 and up towards 3 they go on the charge here. Batting right now does seem to be coming down to a degree. It's almost as if it's the calm before the storm. And we're speaking of the storm that's brewing. We ride on board here with one of 2 Veloster drivers who right now would love to have another battle at Luciano Bitford for Bradman Esports. We ride on board and look back for the rear of, and he is ahead of none other than William Guthrie as the full Tilby Motorsport driver looking to stay close, looking to stay threatening, and he's doing exactly that as they make their way out of 10. Close enough to think about a move here, or is he? It doesn't look as though he will be come the end of the run down the straight, as the gap is 1.5 tenths. As they make their way onto the anchors here, you can see the difference in braking approaches with it just a little bit more defensive in terms of how much braking potential he's using, not being as aggressive with the car. In fact, the word which I look for is being a bit more conservative under braking, and I think trying to massage the tyres through where's their wear cycle, so that way he's got a bit more life for them in the closing stage of this race. Guthrie, meanwhile, close as ever, trying to put the pressure, trying to get his rival to make a mistake, but these two are very fast and in their own right, battling as hard as humanly possible as they make their way on it down the start finish straight and the towards turn number 1 they go. Onto the brakes here, but no change between them this time around. But meanwhile, from them, we do look to Wayne Douglas here, looking for the move for what will be P13 versus Matthew Sheraton, and that guarantee of being on the reverse grid no matter what numbers are drawn. On the inside he goes, Sheraton the outside to inside, elbows out, neither driver wins to back out. Sheraton still there, makes his mark to make his way back onto the circuit, and well, both drivers giving each other as good as they can give. Elbows out racing between them, and Matthew Sheraton holds on to P13. That's second place in prime right now, and the Aztec Racing driver in the proud colours of the Audi RS3 absolutely pushing on here for what will be a silver standard performance in terms of being on the second spot of that prime podium. But he's got to keep in mind that Alex Everett only 3 seconds behind, and will be watching in the distance and thinking how he can get close to this in the closing stages. We've only got where's another 3 laps after the current one they're on, and indeed right now we know that if Everett's got sight of a potential podium finish or an improvement in his podium finish, he will take it hands down. But meanwhile, as we look back to the front of the field, let's not forget Adam Delman and Jazz Sabula still nose to tail. They've been like this since the start of the race, and they're still together as they come on through the right into left of turns 11 and 12. Onwards they go down towards turn number 13, and as they come on through, I've just been told in my ear, ladies and gents, that Wayne Douglas and Jerry Doyle have both found their way past Matthew Sheraton, so therefore in the end that move has happened, albeit just after we look away and focus back on our leaders here. And as they make the way on down the start finish straight here, 3 more to go in this second race, and Delman still leading by 3 tenths, but Sabula pushing him every step of the way. And then Andrew Pike, who is being reeled in by McCluskey. And remember, as we said earlier, the Elantra drivers will will start to fall off the proverbial cliff in the final quarter of the race. Those front tyres go sooner than any other of the touring car machines available to our drivers. I think Pike right now might be starting to struggle with that front end wear as they make their way out of turn number 3 and out of turn number 2 and up towards 3. Getting our numbers correct here as they head on through, but meanwhile, battle of plenty for Guthrie versus Whitford as they come into the left-hander of 3. We jump aboard here with the 14th Motorsport 97, and as he makes his way out of the corner up towards turn number 4, he goes looking to the inside, can't quite find it, backs off here, but Guthrie right now, I mean, everything he throws at this, Whitford's got an answer for, but as they come into turn number 6 and 7, you can imagine that Guthrie's analysing, he'll be processing what's his rival doing every time he tries to make a move or intone to move. Where's his rival putting the car? How's his braking changing? Where's his throttle application changing? Where's he parking the car on apex? All those little details, you've got to process them, you've got to understand it. It's all that information that'll be the difference between Guthrie being P6 or P5 at the end of the day. And as they make their way down the back straight, 1/10 is the difference here. Guthrie's got a chance. Will he go for it on the brakes? He tries, but meanwhile Whitford now extending that braking zone in terms of going as deep as he can into it. And as they make their way out the corner, this is where Whitford's defensive driving earlier on of just massaging the car has paid dividends. Now he can afford to be the aggressor on the brakes, but as they make their way into 14, Guthrie they're looking around the outside, Whitford parks on the apex, sees what's coming with the attempted cutback, and as a result they'll stay nose tail. Dan Mould is only a 10 behind as they make their way down the start finish straight. It's a triplet of velocities here heading down towards turn and 1. It looks like Whitford might be safe. Guthrie going to go defensive and Mould in the rear of the picture on the left hand side, trying to cut on around. Guthrie goes defensive, gets his elbows out and says no you don't, and immediately Mould backs out. Swirydowicz is just behind in P8 watching this eagerly, thinking about how he could get involved as well. But as they make their way out of turn number 2 and up towards 3 they go. Well, right now these guys are losing sight of what will be the battle for P3, P4 between McCluskey and Pike just off camera there at the bottom of your screen. And as they make their way in towards turn at number 3, well, right now that battle will proceed at its own pace, and indeed the fighting for all the spots inside the top 10 could not be closer as we made our way on top of penultimate lap of racing in race number 2. Onwards they go into turns 4, 5 and 6, and nothing between our drivers here. Particularly Guthrie versus Whitford as they head in towards the right-hander at turn number 7. Dust across the circuit as well from the gravel trap. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a driver going off, but meanwhile he's kicking off here as it's a mistake from Whitford. Goes deep, Guthrie looks up the inside, door banging between the two of them, into the doors they go, elbows out here, Guthrie sent to the grass, gets the car stopped in time, Whitford's around the outside, and as they make the way down, how on earth they survived it, I don't know, but it's still going as they make the way down towards turn number 11. Guthrie's backed off slightly, or has he, as Whitford gets the better run, but it's 4 wide behind. My goodness, you don't go 4 wide into turn 11. They survive it. They come in out 2 wide, but there's Swirydowicz looking up the inside, contact with Dan Mould. Mould almost forced to the gravel as they make the way through. And here comes Joseph Doe up the inside into 13. There's contact between Joseph Doe and Mould. Mikey Doe will switch through. He takes 1. He takes 2 until we can see where the cameraman's going to show us the action. And there it is. And Mikey Doe moves up into P8 ahead of brother Joseph. Dan Mould, meanwhile, he'll feel absolutely frustrated at that, in the fact getting involved in the battle and being elbowed out by every driver around him, flashing his lights there, and you can understand why. But as they make their way down in towards turn at number 1, kind of through the left into right here, it's all kicked off inside the top 10 with 1 lap to go, and meanwhile it's still waiting to explode at the front of the field in terms of Delmont and Sabir. The fuse has been lit, but is it going to expire before this racing is over, or will we see the battle play on here as they make their way in towards turn number 4? Into left-hander they go, and Delmont right now only 2 tenths clear. It does look as though Sabula is inching closer and closer, and Delmont struggling for turning there. Having to go defensive into 7. Sabula looking for the cutback as a result as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the 77 Honda. And the SRL NXTGEN team right now will be absolutely egging their driver on. Semper Racing will be doing the same in their garage with Jazz Sabula, who chases behind in the Veloster. But as they make their way out of turn at number 10 and onto the back straight, time is running out, and now we're into Honda territory. This is where the Honda's stronger. He's got the better brakes. He can brake later than the Veloster coming into the chicane at turns 11 and 12. Onto the brakes they go. And right into left here, Delmont just needs now 2 more major corners. He comes out of 12 into 13, runs wide. Sabula's not close enough to capitalise. It may be enough as they make the way on through, but as they do, we're right now making their way up towards the very last corner here. The crowd waited to see who's going to be the winner. We're waiting to see as they emerge into our view. It's going to be Adam Delmont who sees the checker flag and takes the win for SRL NXTGEN ahead of Javso Sabula P2. It'll be Andrew Pike P3 at the line for iRacing Esports ahead of Benjamin McCluskey P4. P4. Luciano Vitford P5 in the end, ahead of William Guthrie, Wojciech Swirydowicz, Mikey Doble, Joseph Doble, and Dan Mulder completion top 10. Nick Clemens P11. Isaac Doble comes up through P12 to take the prime win in race number 2, ahead of Wayne Douglas P13, Jamie Dory P14, Matthew Shevitz in the end, a runner-up in the prime class. Another great result for the Aztec Racer driver in the 390 out of Alex Everett, his first prime podium of the season. P3 in class of Crest Autosport, P16 oval ahead of Lee Horn, and it'll be Sam Van Ols and Duncan Moraes, P18, P19 at a Russell Fowler P20. We've still got more drivers to finish this race, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not forget about them, including a difficult race for Harley Bicknell for JW Motorsport P30, but P13 in prime class, and therefore some points gained. It'll then be Craig Tiddleston just behind him, P31 for FR20 Sim Racing, and then it will be then 2 more drivers to come through. Paul Zanatachi, it was at a difficult end to the race. It didn't quite go the way he wanted it to, but still another race to come. But he'll be starting P32 in the final race of the day for Affinity, and then a further 20 seconds behind, but still in it to win it, as they say. It will be Martin Shirley, the RD Simsport driver, who came off worse for wear after that contact between himself, Lee Horn, and Zanatachi at turn at number 3. But the RD Simsport driver makes his way out of the final corner, and this will be his finishing position of P33 in this second race of the day. We did have a 34th starter, and that was Alan McCain. He finished a lap down P34, P15 in prime class, so still some points to be gained there. But goodness me, ladies and gents, what a second race we've had. And for Adam Delmont, despite all the pressure placed on him, he managed to hold on to the win, and with it, I do believe his first win of the season, ahead of Jazz Sabula, who once again is second place, runner-up, but not quite able to bring home that first win for Semper Racing. But still, he'll do it one day, and all the way through, he'll be proud of the fact that he kept the race winner on his toes all the way to the checker flag. Meanwhile, for Isaac Doble, where it was a podium in race number 1, it's now a win in race number 2. We asked him about it. He was feeling confident, and that confidence definitely shown. Will be aided to a degree by Daniel Downing's full start and the drive-through penalty as a result, but still Lady Luck always plays its way out in motorsport, ladies and gentlemen, and Wayne Douglas fighting his way to P13. He's guaranteed himself to be in the reverse grid and the first of the eligible spots that can be drawn, and therefore a great drive from the next gen pink driver for the 66. And meanwhile, Matthew Shepperton already into the pit lane, and Alex Everett just behind, and with his first podium of the season for the Crest Autosport driver in the 29, and the same for Matthew Shepperton. A great pair of performances for the duo. But with that, let's take you through the race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, as the last of our drivers make their way into the pit lane, and here are the results. So in a thrilling race number 2 of the day, in round number 6 of the NXTCC Season 5, powered by IMB Racewear, brought to you on iRacing, here today at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in Germany, Adam Delmont taking the win for SRL Next Gen by 3.5 tenths over Semper Racing's Jazz Sabula. iRacing Esports' Andrew Pike wrapping up the overall podium there, and we said he'd be targeted the podium, and the number 3 drive scores a P3 in this second race of the day, ahead of Benjamin McCluskey. P4 for Next Gen at Pink, ahead of Bram Esports' Luciano Vitford. Behind the man who fought hard for P5 was the whole pack of drivers, all baying for the opportunity to finish 5th place, including William Guthrie, Wojciech Swirydowicz, Mikey Doble, Joseph Doble, and Dan Mould. They completed your top 10 there in what was a brilliant battle all the way to the end. And then at P11 for Nick Clemens for iRacing Esports, their best of the rest. And well, Isaac Doble, P12, your pro and winner for Doble Sim Racing. And what a drive from the 65, driving in the end to fight his way back to the victory. Wayne Douglas, P13, ahead of Jamie Dory, the 2 Next Gen at Pink drivers finishing together there, ahead of Matthew Shepperton, runner-up in the prime class, and the 390 driver for Aztec Racing with his first podium of the season in the prime class. He'll be absolutely pleased, and the team will be proud of him on that. Alex Everett, the same as well, the first podium of the season for the prime driver in what is the Crest Autosport machine, the number 29, and what a drive from him. And Lee Horn at P17 just behind, ahead of Goldwyn Motorsport Sam Van Olst. And as we can see, to complete the top 20 there, Duncan Moraes and Russell Fowler. Jay Clay at P21, battling hard there to just be outside the top 20 of the privateer, head of JW Motorsports Ian Manners. And Matthew Addy with P23 will be your last eligible reverse grid position at driver. The next gen with Sam Cases, ahead of Daniel Downing, who recovered well to P24 after that full start, but the Goldwing Motorsport driver now has got all his work cut out for him in race number 3. There's no question about it. Piotr Jegoslewski at P25 there for Semper Racing. Plenty more fighting to come for him, and the Czech Republic driver enjoying the fighting, I would gather, based on race number 2 and getting stuck right in, which is what we love to see. Reese Watt P26 ahead of Sam Smith, and then to complete your top 30, Mark Sykes ahead of Jonathan Collins and Harley Bicknell. Craig Tiddleston, P31, ahead of Paul Zanatachi, a difficult race number 2 for the Affinity driver. Indeed, he'll be looking for better fortune in the final race of the day. And then Martin Shirley, P33 for RD Simsport. Much like Zanatachi, a difficult mid-portion of the race, but still in it to win it and bring the car home. And we expect plenty more from it in race number 3 as he fights his way through at the field. Alan McCain, the last two finishers, a lap down, 34 starters, 34 finishers, and our final finisher, Alan McCain for iRace Esports. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes race number 2. And goodness me, what a second race we have had. But it's not over yet, because we've got race number 3 coming up very shortly in what will be approximately, the best part of about 10 to 15 minutes time. And when we do go racing at one last time, well, we've got the big conundrum of what will be our larger reverse grid. And without further ado, it's time for us to do the reverse grid draw. So we are going to cut to the commentary booth. And good evening to you once again. And I'll tell you one thing, it's getting hot out on the circuit. It's getting hot in this commentary booth. But we've got our lottery bowl. We now got to draw 2 numbers from the bowl. And well, the procedure is normal. Close our eyes, shuffle and draw. And let's do it. And for our first number, it is going to be, will be the number 9. So we're going to have at least a moderately sized reverse grid, if nothing more than that. But we need another number to go with the number 9, and let's do another draw. There's the shuffle. And our draw for our second number is going to be, well, it is going to be 2 numbers together. It's going to be 8 and 9, which does mean you add that together, that's 17. Lee Horn finds himself on pole position for the final race of the day, and he'll be joined on the front row by third place prime driver, what was Alex Everett for Crest Autosport. So it's going to be an interesting run into turn number 1. Could we see a repeat of race number 2 with the prime driver getting a launch ahead, albeit without the full start or with a full start? All that will be to find out, ladies and gentlemen, but we've got plenty more to come, and well, we'll be back very shortly for some post-race interviews from race number 2, albeit not without firstly a word from our title sponsor, IMB Racewear. What was a phenomenal race number 2. We saw plenty of battling up and down the field. We take a look back at the race start here, particularly focusing on Alex Everett, who enjoyed one of the strongest starts of our drivers and indeed made quite a good amount of progress and calm up the lights out and away we go procedure. And we're going to try and grab a word with the man himself and talk about what was his great start to the day and made his way down into turn number 1. You can see here the concertina effect between the drivers, absolutely incredible about how they all make it through still. It is a testament to their driving ability and the fact that Oschersleben turn 1 not catching out anyone, it would seem. But as we say, we're going to try and grab a word from the man himself, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen, as we get a patch through to him from down in the paddock. Alex, do you have time or two for a quick word regarding race number 2? Or do apologise. If you need to have a quick chat with Jamie, we'll bring you back to him and we'll catch you very shortly.
No, it's all right. It's all right. He's not probably not saying anything important.
Already, no worries. Well, we wanted to catch you for the simple reason that you've had a phenomenal race number 2. There's no question about it. Making your way onto your first prime podium of the season at P3 and what was P16. How did race 2 feel for you?
Yeah, a little bit better. I don't know what happened, but I just seemed to have a little bit more pace in the car. It was a bit of argy-bargy. I don't know how much of it was my fault, how much of it was others, but it was no short of drama. But yeah, I'll take a reverse grid.
Well, that's absolutely fair, and it does look as though you're going quite well at this circuit today, at the Oschersleben circuit. Is it one you've enjoyed previously?
My only experience is on Race Room, and it's been hit or miss for me in the past. Most recently, a bit of a miss circuit, but I think it helped tonight, as all that experience in the past, I kind of knew what gears to use for the corners, what lines to take for the corners, kind of how to take like the double chicane sections. It's quite a tricky track to learn, I've found. So I feel like I've had a bit of an advantage with myself on that basis, that I've got experience on this track, yeah.
Well, that's absolutely fair. Building upon that previous experience, like you say, and I have to ask, with the Honda around here, have you been found it can be very aggressive on the brakes? It seems as though it's the car that just loves to go the latest into every corner, particularly turn one.
I think so. Yeah, I'm. Yeah. Now you've mentioned it, I'm finding myself able to brake a little bit later than most into the corner. So yeah, I'd say you're definitely right. I find it a little bit unstable on the brakes. It's probably down to my inexperience or incompetence in the car. But yeah, I'm finding the brakes are pretty good on this track, which certainly will help it. I'm struggling against the other Honda drivers, but against the likes of the Hyundais, I'm able to brake later. That's for certain.
Oh, well, with that in mind, and well, race number 3 is going to see you start on what will be the front row of the grid at P2 with the reverse grid considered. What are your targets for race number 3?
I'm hoping to stay in the top 20 again. I've set that as my target in this season, is try and get as close as I can, if not onto the top 20, which I managed once last week at Nürburgring. So I'll be hoping for that this time around. As you'll know, I have no experience other than watching and commentating these races when it comes to being in the reverse grid draw. So I'm not sure what to expect in this race. It could be a disaster. It could be good. We'll see.
We do look forward to seeing you out there on the circuit, but we'll leave you to it for now, Alex, and good luck with your preparations for race number 3.
Thank you, Paul.
So hearing it there from Alex Everett, one of our stars from our second race of the day, and finishing in what was a P3 in prime class and P16 overall. He'll find himself on the front row for what will be, excuse me, our final race of the day. And well, there has been a slight delay to the transition to race number 3, ladies and gentlemen. What that means for us, of course, is we get an opportunity to speak to some of our other drivers as well regarding their performances in race number 2. And well, we are going to try and catch a word with one of our other stars in the prime class, if he is available, Matthew Cheverton, albeit I don't think we are going to be able to quite grab a word from him. I think he has stepped away from what is his car for the time being, but we'll see what we can do to have a quick chat with him. In fact, I am just going to try and get a cheeky word down to the Aztec Racing Garage, but you're not seeing this, ladies and gentlemen, but we are going to try and get a quick word with them and see if we can get Matthew available to talk about what was a great race, because the driver at the end of the day bringing it home P2 in the class and P15 overall, the Aztec Racing driver with his first podium of the season in the Prime class, definitely pushing hard and going all in, it must be said. And really that has been the theme for our Prime drivers all season so far, in terms of trying to show up what is their prowess versus their peers. But we are just waiting to see if we can get a word from the 390 driver. If not, we will try and catch a word with one of our other drivers. In fact, he does have some time available, so we're going to hear from him very shortly. And he's going to be joining us in what will be the interview room with a patch from his garage. And give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, we can catch a word with the man himself now. And as we do grab him, good evening to you, Matthew. Thank you for being able to join us for a minute or two. What a race number 2 from yourself. In the end, a P2 finish in the Prime class and also a top 15 overall. Some overall points on the board as well. You must be absolutely pleased.
Yeah, it feels nice. I think Christmas came early for me this time. I mean, after a good 2 or 3 rounds of just very poor results, getting crashed into and all that, I was back, not to toot my own horn, but back where I belong, and fighting in the top half of Pro-Am. It's a good little, yeah, just really happy to be back. Podium, hopefully we can continue that to race 3.
Well, we do look forward to race number 3, and we'll ask you a little bit more about that shortly. But how have you found racing the Audi here? Because it's a car that we've seen previously very aggressive on its gearbox, and this circuit's got a lot of medium to low speed corners where I can imagine the Audi might have a lot of corners where it's either one gear or the other, and you've got to try and pick.
Not really. I find as you're driving it, you get into a rhythm and you find what gear works in each corner. I haven't really found any sort of corner where I'm having to roll a dice on which gear gets me better through a corner. But so yeah, I haven't bothered with that problem. But just the Audi in general, personally, I think it's a much better car for me to drive. It, the way it runs on its brakes and the way it uses brakes compared to other touring cars, it feels that more. Well, the only way I can put it is of a normal race car, so similar to that of GT3s, GT4s, prototypes. It just suits my driving style a lot better, and obviously I mean, I saw that at the Nürburgring. I mean, the results didn't show it, but I saw the pace. And then here now, granted, some of the result is slightly skewed as there was quite a few accidents in that last race. But either way, pace is better and the car's feeling amazing. So yeah, keep this momentum going.
Well, fingers crossed that momentum can carry on forward. And just with regards to the batting around here, of course, we've seen some great fights in amongst the Prime class between yourself and your peers, but also it seems though just as much scrapping today between Primes and Pros. How are you feeling with regards to the fact you're exchanging elbows with some of the higher class drivers out on the grid?
Nothing new really. Happens all the time. You know, if you keep your nose clean and your pace is good, you find yourself mixing with everybody, whether pro or pro-am. So it's nothing unusual. I mean, I've fought up here before. I mean, managed to hold off everybody last season to take a overall race win. So not entirely very suited and accustomed to fighting others. But yeah, obviously gets a little bit bangy with the pros. Obviously, 9 times out of 10 they are quicker than you. They want to get ahead, and it does lead to a few small incidents. Could possibly be avoided, but each to their own. So yeah, nothing new, and actually it's a bit more fun because they're usually the pro guys, the fast guys. They're quite respectful. They leave you a bit of room. You can have some solid battles, which gives you a good feeling, gives it a good race, and also a good broadcast.
100% with you on that. And now looking ahead to race number 3, of course, we're going to be transitioning into that very shortly. You're going to be part of the reverse grid, in fact, starting on what will be P3 on the grid for our final race today. What can we expect from yourself?
Hopefully another podium. In fact, more than hopefully, praying I just don't get caught in an incident, because I'm third, there's not many people in front, there's a lot of people behind, some a lot faster than me. So it's going to be a game of, well, try and get ahead of those in front, but then keep a lot of quick people behind. I mean, if I do find them fast, if they do manage to, if they are quicker than me and they manage to put their nose in, hopefully they leave the room, you know, keep it clean, don't just force me off or put me in the wall. So yeah, hopefully podium and good points all, carrying on the good points all.
That's great to hear. Well, we wish you the best luck for the final race today. We'll let you get to your final preparations and we'll see you out of the circuit.
Yes, thank you.
So hearing there from Matthew Sheraton, our runner-up in the Prime class and 15th place finisher in our second race today. And talking about there and the fact it's business as usual, enjoying batting with the pros just as much as the Primes, and finding he's finally able to show the pace that's available in the Audi RS3 for Aztec Racing. And we're looking forward to our final race of the day. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to step away and get set for our final race. We'll be back in approximately 4 to 5 minutes time for the build up to race number 3. Don't go anywhere, you won't want to miss it. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back very rapidly for our final race of the day. Race number 3 is coming up shortly. Indeed, we've had a few technical hiccups in the background that we've worked our way through in the interim, and we're going to get back to the racing as soon as possible because I think we are going to the grid within the next couple of minutes. But back now circuit side once again, we heard some thoughts from 2 of our podium finishers in the Prime class after race number 2, and we'll definitely some tempers starting to flare here as we get sort of one final run around the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. And as our drivers all get set and ready to go, we would like just to bring you an update with regards to what was the planned interview with the CEO and owner of IMB Racewear, Ian Berryman. Unfortunately, something as personal has come up for Ian, and he's doing okay, ladies and gentlemen. I can assure you of that. We've been in touch, but unfortunately, he's not available to conduct an interview as of tonight. We would have loved to have heard from the CEO of IMB Racewear, but we'll catch him again at the end of the season, as I think we are going to have a slot with him at what will be at the Donington Park Grand Prix finale. And we'll get to hear his thoughts there, and perhaps also a little bit more about what's in store for IMB Racewear over the course of 2024, as we'll be a couple of weeks into the all-new year. But still, as we get set and ready to go, once again, we are only a minute or so away from going green flag racing for the final time here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. I think our stewards have had a quick word to some drivers to tell them to calm things down after race number 2. I think there were a few too many elbows out. But as we do look to Luke Jones here, the JW Motorsport driver in the 222, making its way down the start-finish straight. It had a difficult race number 1, the car not able to start due to technical issues. Race number 2, it's been in the garage just watching the rest of the racing go on, but they've been able to get it fixed. And now in race number 3, it's back out there, and we look forward to seeing if they can get the velocity going to the end. And he'll be starting from the very back of the field from P35, but how far can he go? That'll be the change that confronts the 222 driver. But then again, we have seen some phenomenal drives from drivers over the course of the season, fighting their way all the way through the field, even at further. So it's not impossible here, but well, we'll have to wait to see what he's able to do. But as we get set, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody now absolutely itching to go green flag racing one more time, and place your bets. Who is going to take the win in our top 17 reverse grid? It'll be Lee Horn on pole, and alongside him, of course, will be Alex Everett, your prime pole sitter from P2. It's an analogue to race number 2. Will it be as dramatic? Will it be more dramatic, perhaps? Will the checker flag comes out in this practice warm-up session? It is time for us to find out, for it's time for race number 3. So as all of our drivers get set, this is how they'll line up on our final grid of the day. It is Lee Horn who takes reverse grid pole position for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, joined on the front row of the grid by Crest Autosport's Alex Everett, your prime pole sitter. Round number 2 goes to the prime of Matthew Sheraton for Aztec Racing and the prime of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink, with Wayne Douglas and Isaac Dole for NXTGEN Pink and Double Sim Racing making up row number 3. Row 4 is then accompanied by Nick Clibbins for iRacing Esports and Dan Mull for SRL NXTGEN, with the top 10 being completed by Joseph Doble for Double Sim Racing and teammate Mikey Doble. Wojciech Swirydowicz starts P11 for Semper Racing, joined on the 6th row by Luciano Vitford for Brabham Esports. Then we see on round number 7 it will be the pairing of Benjamin McCluskey and Andrew Pike. Round number 8 goes to Jazz Sevilla and Adam Delmont, with Sam Van Alst and Duncan Rise on row number 9. Your top 20 is completed by Jay Clay and Ian Manners. P21, it's Matthew Addy ahead of Daniel Downing, with Piotr Jegoslewski starting P23 ahead of Reese Watt. And then we have on row number 13 Sam Smith and Mark Sykes, with Arthur Collins and Harley Bicknell on row number 14. Top 30 completed by Craig Tillotson and Paul Zanatachi. We've got to stop there, ladies and gentlemen, because the lights are going on, and it's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go for the final race of the day. Lee Horn gets a good start, as does Alex Everett. Behind me, while Jamie Dory getting the launch of the line and Matthew Sheraton bogging down as they make the way down towards turn number 1. They charge in towards the braking zone. 33 cars, and the best part of over 10,000 horsepower as they head onto the anchors. Jamie Dory goes all in versus Alex Everett, gets the P2. Everett stays clear, meanwhile stays out of danger and just wants to lead the Prime class now all the way to the finish. That will be the goal, and just manage the pros as they come up behind. But as they make the way on around here, it's easier said than done, as the saying goes, as our drivers roar their way into the braking zone here for turn number 3. Through the long left-hander they go, and as they wind their way on around, well, everyone's safely making it through the opening corners once again, as they make it through a bit of a run wide there from Nick Clemens, but brings it back onto the circuit just about. Mikey Doble as well making some great progress. 2 places gained at the start. Up the inside there, Matthew Sheraton. Contact for Mikey Doble, and he's turned around, and the car just misses the tyre barrier. But goodness me, it's all gone wrong for the Doble brother once again, in the fact there's been drama in all 3 races of Doble Sim Racing, but that's the worst. It puts him all the way down to P28. But meanwhile, one drive's lost and another's gained as Wayne Douglas making progress here in P4, chasing after Alex Everett. And he's got Nick Clements for close company now as Eric goes defensive, but Douglas looking up the inside into 11. And I don't think Douglas is going to back out of this one as they head onto the brakes. Clements is going to look for it as well. Into the right hander they go. Everett holds the position, and as a result, defending outside to inside, makes P3 his own for the time being. The leaders now only 1.5 seconds clear as they make the way into turn number 13, making the way around. The helicopter follows them as they make the way over into the brains over 14. Side by side they go. Douglas on the inside, Everett feeding a bit of a tap, and the two of them into the gravel. Douglas to the tyre barrier, Everett off into the gravel, but makes his way back onto the circuit, but both of them lose out dramatically. And meanwhile, at the front of the field, it's Lee Horner who's onto lap 2 at Jamie Dorey. Nick Clemens P3 ahead of Dan Mould, although saying that Dan Mould up the inside on the offensive under braking, and as they come through, Dan Mould takes P3 of Nick Clemens. Wojciech Swirydowicz P5 ahead of Isaac Doble, who leads the Pro class once again, P6 after the contact between Alex Everett and Wayne Douglas. Meanwhile, hold the fault there as I think Lee Horn has had a poor run out of turn number 2. Jamie Dorey has taken the lead into 3, and as they make the way of 3, well, behind Isaac Doble, it is Matthew Sheraton, who right now is knocking and banging on the door of another win in the Pro class. Albeit can he find it, as he's currently the second place driver. Meanwhile, Luciano Vitford P8 ahead of Joseph Doble and Benjamin McCluskey completion top 10 ahead of Andrew Pike P11 as they make the way through triple left for turns 4, 5 and 6. All the way through the long left they go and onto the brakes. But right now Andrew Pike under pressure here from Stabula, who's trying to make inroads, albeit with that 48 kilograms of success bar, so it's going to be easier said than done, given that car is going to feel heavy. The same for Adam Delman, who hasn't really moved too much. He's gained from the misfortunes of others. He's up in the P13, but he's got a pack of primes right behind him, all eager to try and make some progress. As meanwhile in the pits of Wayne Douglas, Alan McCann pulls down Atachi. It's gone wrong for 3 drivers as they all make the way down the back straight here and in towards turn at number 11 at once again. And well, the big question so you might be asking is what exactly happened to pulls down Atachi at the start? Well, here's a replay to explain. Well, this was a run down towards turn number 1. Hard on the brakes at the race start. Keep your eyes out there for the light blue and green. Veloster, it's in contact. Oh my good lord! And I think in the end, and a bit of contact there for Luke Jones as well on their domino effect over the back of what was Alan McCain's car. But Zanatachi being turned there before he got to really go racing. And well, I think Martin Shirley had a bit of contact into the braking zone. Mass concertina effect, and Shirley just not responding in time. And that's what's led to the contact there, or at least that's what the camera angles would show. I think Martin Shirley put his hand up and say, look, I broke when I thought was right, and that's the way it's played up, but that was the concertina in full motion. But Zanatachi's bad luck today continues, and well, Alan McCain also a victim of the incident. As we return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, some drama at the back of the field into turn at number 1, but right now everyone keeping their heads down and the racing charging on here, as meanwhile we do look to Jay Calais, who's fighting harder with Matthew Addy and also Piotr Jigaslewski as they make the way in towards turn at number 4 here. You can see right now Calais looking around the outside. This is a P8 in the prime class here. In they go. Addy defending hard on the inside. A bit of brake dust being kicked up there from one of the drivers. I think a tyre smoke by comparison, not really brake dust. But as they make the way through turn 7 in towards 11 they go. And out of it, you can see Ian Manners meanwhile still trying to fend off Sam Smith. Smith not backing out into McDonald's. They go. It's not a 2 wide corner sequence. It's 1 wide, and Manners making sure it's his corner to claim as they make the way out to the right hander and down the back straight they go. Smith not too happy about that, flashing his lights feverishly. I think right now Ian Manners just trying to dig in and hold on to position and make some progress. As Addy looking up the inside, contact there with Smith. Addy sliding sideways as a result, gets the car stopped in time. Corley almost follows him off the road there at 12, steers clear of the danger zone, and as they make the way up towards turn number 13, Addy on the inside, Clay going around the outside. Here comes Chikaslewski up the outside as well. As they make the way into the braking zone for turn at number 14, we'll pass them out and we can see there Addy does hold on for the time being, but these guys right now getting their elbows out, there's no question about it, as they make the way on the start finish straight up towards turn at number 1. Meanwhile, just in front of them, Mikey Doble trying to make some further progress. He's ahead of Sam Smith. His next target is Ian Manners, and the Double Sim Racing driver absolutely on a mission here to try and carve his way back through the field from P28 after that unfortunate race start. But he makes his way through the long right-hander at turn number 2. There's a long way to go, and the laps are wearing out quickly. But meanwhile, looking from these guys outside the top, well, just inside the top 20 to a bit outside the top 20. Martin Shirley right now trying to fight his way back through. Matthew Addy having a huge slide through turn number 3, pushing the car hard is Addy. It's the Sam Caseman next gen driver, now going to lose a place to Jigoslavski as they head in towards turn number 4. Here on the inside he goes, and well, he's going to be grinning like the profile photo there to make a move like that. The separation driver gain another place in the P9 in Pro class, well and truly earned there as they make the way through turn 7 as he makes his way on through and up towards turns 8 and 9. His next target will be Jay Clay and Sam Smith, who sit 1.2 seconds up the road, and they're fighting half a position right now. Speaking of Clay, as we ride aboard and look back from the rear of the privateer, will Smith close as a bit of a hit on the limiter there for Clay, or almost. You can hear the car go silent for a brief moment, I think trying to find a gear, and as they head down towards turn number 11, right now Smith not close enough to really pounce here as they wind their way on through the chicane sequence of turns 11 and 12. Addy's got back ahead of Jigoslavski as we look to them in the rear of the picture, so as a result Addy making that progress back after losing some ground as they come out of 13 into 14. Will Clay right now holding Smith behind, but a bit of a poor run out of 14. That's going to cost them the run off the corner. But meanwhile, speaking of runs off the corners, here's Manners versus Mikey Doble. They're fighting for P18, but this is more significant than that because Mikey Doble looking to try and keep those championship hopes alive, and he'll need to make his way past Manners to do so. He'll want to finish inside the top 50, get some overall points, goes around the outside to inside. Manners beaches himself on the curb almost there, so it's going to be Mikey Doble's to claim now as they come through 2, or is it? As it's side by side out the corner, but in the end, it will be going the way of Mikey Doble as they clear the corner. Lovely move being made there. But they are heading towards turn number 3. Meanwhile, we look to Duncan and Morais a little bit further up the road and making the way in towards turn number 4 right now. Morais ahead of Adolphs. The two teammates here still nose to tail as they come on through. And well, we always see 1 or 2 Goldwing Motorsport drivers together, albeit they're not going to step on each other's toes here. They're just going to try and work together and push forward a little bit further. Daniel Downing just in front. So all 3 of them, we have the trio together on circuit, running P3, P4, P5 in the Pro-Am class. It's going to be a big points haul for them if things finish as they currently stand. As they head on through the right-hander at turn number 10, up towards 11 they go. Meanwhile, inside the top 10 or thereabouts, Matthew Sheraton right now, the P2 Pro-Am driver. Well, he's got his sights and eyes at Doble 2 place in front, but he's also got a long train of pros behind him, as being led by Joseph Doble. And I think that train's about to have something to say as they head in towards 13. Joseph Doble tapping the rear of Sheraton's car. And Sheraton here trying to get his elbows out, make sure that Joseph Doble can't fight his way through. We ride aboard and look back from the rear view mirror of what is Sheraton's car, rear view window we should say, and we can see that Joseph Doble looking around the outside. That's a drag race, but this is where the Audi is strong. But Joseph Doble looking now all the way down towards turn number 1. He's on the outside lefting a picture, Sheraton on the inside. There's a position, onto the brakes they go, both drivers giving each other everything they've got. Joseph Doble goes to gravel, just about stops the car in time, and Sheraton keeps the place, albeit getting his elbows out there. And as they make the way out of turn number 2, it's going to be which Joseph Doble will lose out to Benjamin McCluskey. Meanwhile, whilst this is playing out, Wojciech Swirydowicz has found his way past what we believe is Dan Mould, or he's trying to find his way past Lee Horn as well, as Horn under pressure now in the battle for P2. We'll get a replay of what happened very shortly for Swirydowicz to take the P3, but as they make the way on through the triple left to turns 4, 5 and 6, right now it could not be closer, and everybody absolutely brimming at the edge here, as I think they say the cups are going to run if over soon, and it's going to run over with some absolutely brilliant battling as they make the way in towards the McDonald's chicane here. Left, right, left, right they go through turn number 10. And onwards towards the back straight, and Lee Horn right now under absolutely merciless pressure from Swirydowicz as they head down towards turn number 1. Swirydowicz already looking to the inside into the corner, trying to intimidate, trying to get Horn to make a mistake. Jamie Dory's already 2.5 seconds up the road, it should be pointed out, but with Swirydowicz's previous lap was a 35.1. Why is that important, so you might be asking? That was 6 tenths faster than Horn. It was 4 tenths faster than Jamie Dory, in fact almost half a second faster. Swirydowicz is the man right now who's the fastest out there, and if he can get past Horn, I wouldn't be surprised if come the final 2 to 3 laps of this race, he's battling for the lead with Dory, but he's got to clear the Sam Caseman next gen driver first, and that's not going to be easy because whilst Horn may be new to the pro class, he's not going to simply let places go because he'll want to be on that overall podium. As they come in towards turns 1 and 2 here, Mould still watching as well after a difficult race number 2, looking to come on back. And how was the move made, I hear you ask, with regards to what Swirydowicz versus Mould? Well, that replay's coming very shortly, but here's Pike versus Sabila battling through turns 1 and 2. Sabila got to head into the braking zone, but Pike around the outside to inside and making the defense and counter-attack count as they head in towards turn number 3. And what you can see just behind Delman right now looking around the outside, but having to go high. The Honda not stopping in time, and Daniel Downing moving on through. The P3 Prime Drive again another place overall, and just gradually trying to cut off each place and move closer and closer towards Matthew Sheraton. But here, in the meantime, it is your replay of Swirydowicz versus Mold for P3. It was only a lap ago, and this was coming out of turn number 2. It started with what was the battle between Horn and Mold, with Mold being pushed slightly wide there, the camera would suggest. And as they make their way in towards turn number 3, Swirydowicz looked around the outside of Horn, tried to cut it back, and then went for it, but was closed off at the exit point by Lee Horn. So Horn right now having to get his elbows out in order to keep the places, and that explains the full story, it would seem. But meanwhile, as they make their way on down on our live pictures here, down the back straight, we still got more fighting to come between all of our drivers here. The plenty of places up for grabs. We've always said that we're in the second half of this race now, albeit we've got 5 more laps to come after this one as they make their way in towards turns 13 and 14. And well, as they do, Delmont continued to try and chase after Daniel Downing. But remember, Adam Delmont has got what is the best part of 56.1 kilograms of success ballast in that car. He's the heaviest car out there right now, and he is going to feel cumbersome. He's just not going to have any straight line speed. The Honda has already deprived the top speed, and it gets worse and worse. And under braking, the car is not going to want to stop when it's under heavy braking in particular, because all the inertia of the car just comes forward, and with that weight transfer, that is where the problems lie. In the fact he can't brake as aggressively in the Honda, and he hasn't got the speed on the straights, even in the toe, to stay with his rivals, so he's got to push even harder or just try to make sure the places don't fall away from him. But meanwhile, we do look from these guys to what is Sam Smith battling with Matthew Addy here. This is a P18 Pro-Am, or what is a P21 overall, and Smith they're getting on the inside as Addy goes a bit deep as they make the way out of the corner, and as they head up towards turn number 4 side by side, they go up into triple left, into 4. Who's going to back out? Will either of them back out? They give each other space here. Brilliant side by side racing into the corner, and he gets a nose end, gets a whole half the car ahead as they make the way through 6 into 7. And Matthew Addy, well, it may not be his day to celebrate in terms of wins, but right now he's showing you how it's done to defend Oschersleben and making the moves count there. Sam Smith once he has to try and find a way on through in this battle for P21, P8 in the prime class, and as they head down the back straight, from them, Martin Shirley closes up behind with Harley Bicknell as they make the way down here. Of course, keeping in mind that Martin Shirley having to do a recovery drive, much like a number of other drives around him, including when his pulls in a touch. He was a lap down behind in P30 there, so he can't take place, although he can unlap himself. Meanwhile, Craig Tillerston just being passed by Luke Jones in the run in towards turn number, and the FR20 Sim Racing driver battling with the driver whose car is continuing to carry on here after Jones having those difficulties in races 1 and 2 in not being able to start the races due to a technical issue with the car. But meanwhile, we look back to Harley Bicknell here fighting with Martin Shirley as they make the way on down the start of this straight, and Shirley looking to the inside now, switching places, cutting across from outside to inside, battle the Honda versus the Elantra, and I think this might be the Hondas to take on the brakes, but Bicknell's going to brake even later, gets it stopped in time, and Shirley not able to find his way through, but Bicknell goes a bit deep, but in the end Bicknell able to get stopped just in time. Great defending for the 99 driver JW Motorsport, holding on to P23, but from them we look to Jaroslav Samula, who right now fighting with Daniel Downing. Remember, Downing found his way past Adam Delmont, he's down trying to find his way past the Semper Racing driver, cut off at the apex there as they make the way to turn 4, and as they make the way through 5 and into 6, Downing's going for it, he's going all the way around the outside. Surely this has got to be a gamble. I mean, I can imagine he's a bit of a gambler now, Downing, but still at the same time the risks are plenty. But Samula, after using more entry run-off space than permitted at turn number 4, that's an automated slowdown, I do believe, that Samula served there on the exit of 7, and that releases Daniel Downing. Downing right now the prime, who is getting under everybody's skin here right now, showing phenomenal turn overall pace. We saw that in qualifying, to be fair, when he put it on pole. We saw it in race number 1, we took the prime win, and oh, how if he had jumped the start of race number 2, what could have been today. But still, he's doing it the hard way, and he's making it count in the number 17 Elantra. In the fact, right now he's P3 in the prime class, and I think he fancies his chances of chasing down Matthew Sheraton. Only a couple laps to go. There is Sheraton in the foreground of the camera shot. We now focus on him. He's P8 overall. He's keeping McCluskey, Joseph Doble and Pike behind him as they make the way down towards turn number 1. It looks as though patience and tempers might be starting to run out here as they head in towards the opening corner for the 10th time. Will be the the best part of the 34th time today over all the races are greeted. Not many more laps to go in this final race. The sun is setting, and with it right now is opportunities for drivers to make further gains. But as they head in towards turn number 3, onto the brakes to go in the long line of cars that is forming behind the Aztec Racing driver in the United Kingdom. And from them, we do look to Jamie Dory, your race leader, who right now in a very lonely lead, 2.8 seconds clear. And we then show you Lee Horn and what is Wojciech Swirydowicz, and they're fighting for P2. And Horn still keeping Swirydowicz right. Swirydowicz, in fact, has got quite a bit of a dent on the front of that Elantra. Looks like there's been a bit of contact earlier on. And that won't be helping the aerodynamics of the car. I can imagine he might be losing 1 or 2 miles now on the straights as they make the way out of turn number 10 and up towards 11. Horn right now, the next gym with Sam Casey's driver, just feeling calm, just feeling confident and keeping the place on Swirydowicz, just teasing out the opportunity every time as they make the way through 11. He's going to go all in here on the brakes. It's going to be a bold move. Horn, meanwhile, just makes apex in time, and Swirydowicz showing again he's got the pace. He's just trying to find a way to get alongside, and Horn right now using every little bit of defensive nuance he knows in order to stay clear of what's the risk of losing P2. Dan Mould is there, but further half a second back. But the thing is, Mould right now, I think, watched this and thinking how he can gain 2 places for the price of 1, rather than trying to get involved with Swirydowicz immediately. And that's what you've got to do in these situations. You've got to be smart in the fact you're 2 rivals in front of. We've seen it time and time again here today. 2 cars can very easily push each other off racing line, particularly at turn 2, turn 3 as well. And in doing so, it means other drivers could just simply sneak on through and take multiple places in a single opportunistic grasp. But as they make the way up towards turn 3, meanwhile, looking back to Benjamin McCluskey, still in the long line of cars, caught behind Matthew Sheraton. He's the first car in the train in terms of following the leader or the conductor, if you will. And as they make the way through turn number 3, well, Matthew Sheraton right now, I don't think he's going to get many Christmas cards from the drivers behind, given the fact he's frustrated them all the way through this race. Fairly, however, the Aztec Racing driver, he's allowed to be racing the way he is, and indeed hold on to overall position. So remember, Pro-Am score overall points as they do Pro-Am class points for hitting the apex curve at turn number 6 there, and that's going to be a heart-in-mouth moment as the car almost coming loose on the jump down over the curve and into turn 7. But the 390 driver here just keeping it alive right now, and everybody getting closer and closer together as they make their way through turn number 10. Looking back from the rear of Sheraton's car right now, and the pressure absolutely boiling on the car right now in terms of the fact you can imagine that one small mistake and it can lead to all the drivers coming on through in a moment's notice. But still, McCluskey not able to find his way through, all serpentine in between the medium speed chicane in towards turn number 13, up towards Zeppelin they go. And as they do, McCluskey car is thinking about it and thinking about the dive to the inside, can't quite go for it, instead has to wait behind. But as they clear the corner, meanwhile white flag waves, and as it does, it's Jamie Dory's flag to take the next time around. 3.2 seconds of the gap with Lee Hall under pressure. Wojciech Swirydowicz. Swirydowicz up the inside into turn 1, not close enough once again, has to back off. He wants to make this move count, but Horn showing the ability to use the brakes of the Honda compared to his rivals' machines. The Honda just able to stop later than everybody else as they make their way towards turn number 3. That's the problem that Swirydowicz has got. He can throw everything at this, but if Horn can just simply nail those braking points and not let Swirydowicz get alongside in the first instance, then there's no way through for the separate racing driver, surely. But then again, Swirydowicz, we know there's a reason why he's leading it towards the front of the championship, and there's a reason why he's raced in the likes of the World Touring Car Racing Championship at iRacing, and that's because he finds a way to get past the most difficult of foes. But as they make the way on through turn at number 7 onto the grass there, make the way in towards turns 8 and 9, they go right to left and then into the right of McDonald's. No way through for Swirydowicz. Horn still holding on, Mould still 1 second behind. Watching, not really in this anymore, just having to wait to see if the two of them potentially take each other out of the race or cost each other too much pace. But as they come down in to turns 11 and 12 here, well, right now Horn's only got 2 more corners to go. He's just got to hold on a little bit longer to bring home the runner-up spot. Swirydowicz absolutely salivated at 1 more place to be gained. But as they come into the final corner, we have to look to your race leader because the checker flag waves, and it's a return to the stop step for Jamie Dory as he takes the win. But out of Horn and Swirydowicz, it's a drag race to line, and I think Horn's just going to do it by the smallest of margins ever. Swirydowicz, Dan Mould P4, Clemens P5, Isaac Doble makes it 2 wins out of 3 today for Doble Sim Race of the Pro Class P6 header. Luciano Bitford, Matthew Sheraton P8 there, second place Prime ahead of Benjamin McCluskey, Joe Zado and Andrew Pike. Daniel Downing rounds off the Prime podium then, a great recovery to P12 when all is said and done. Adam Delman, Jaroslav Sibila and Duncan Moraes completes your top 15 ahead of Sam Van Alst and a top 5 round out by the Goldwing Motorsport drivers in the Prime class. We've still got more drivers to finish, ladies and gentlemen, include Craig Tillotson, who will take P27 overall, P13 in the Prime class there for FR20 Sim Racing. It'll be Jonathan Collins who then comes on through. Not without a little bit of a battle here with Mark Sykes to the final overall finishing position. Will it be P28 or P29 for Collins? Or Sykes, I believe, up the inside into the final corner indeed as they come on past there. Indeed, clearing the mound, and it is Mark Sykes who makes it count. With flash of lights there from Collins, good friends off the circuit, but Sykes takes P14 Prime, P28 overall ahead of Jonathan Collins, and that completes all of your finishing positions on the lead lap. We've still got one more drive to finish this race, however, ladies and gentlemen, and whether they're winners, alternatively, whether they finish a lap down in P32, and it's Alan McCain who'll be taking that accolade. Give him a round of applause. They all deserve it for the fantastic racing today, and as he makes his way up through the final corner, he may be a lap down, but he'll take P16 Prime, no points for position today in the Prime class, but P32 overall for Alan McCain for iRace Esports. It has been a difficult day for the 212 driver, but there's still plenty of rounds to go in our final, what will be 4 rounds of the season coming up after the Christmas break. But meanwhile for Jamie Dory, it was an absolutely faultless drive to victory, albeit some would say if Lee Horn had been passed by Wojciech Swirydowicz, could we have seen Dory under pressure. But Dory doing exactly right what he needed to, which was take the lead and run away with it. Lee Horn meanwhile doing very well to take the runner-up spot, albeit by a sliver, but only 7 thousandths of the checker flag out of Wojciech Swirydowicz, and what a second place hardly fought and hard earned by the next Triple Sam Cases driver. Isaac Double coming down the pit lane to make it 2 wins out of 3 in the Prime class today. Well, he'll be absolutely pleased with that one. The championship campaign does not seem to be going anywhere but up for Isaac Double for Double Sim Racing. Matthew Sheraton's second place in the Prime class, P8 overall in what was an absolutely stoic defence despite the pressure put on him at lap after lap by his pro peers. And Daniel Downing in the end, third place in the Prime class, P12 overall, and a great recovery for the Goldwing Motorsport driver to make it to podium state, including that win in race number 1. As most of our drivers have made their way into the pit lane now, let's take a look at those race results subject to any insurance inquiries for our final race of the day. And as we can see, after another 12 laps of racing in round 6 of season 5 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing, powered by IMB Racewear, Jamie Dory taking the win for Next Gen Pink by 3.6 seconds over Next Gen with Sam Cases, Lee Horn, and Wojciech Swirydowicz rounding off the podium there for Semper Racing. Dan Mould at P4 just off of the podium slots, but the SRO Next Gen driver picking up some great points with iRace Esports is Nick Clemens at P5, head of Isaac Doble. Your winner in the Prime class, P6 overall, the Doble Sim Racing driver will be grinning from ear to ear with another great score. Indeed, offsetting what was a difficult day at the Nürburgring last time out. Luciano Vitford, P7, the Brabham Esports driver, enjoying his racing today, right in the thick of it, as was Matthew Sheraton in his final race. Second place of the Prime class, hard earned and definitely capitalising, as he said he would aim to capitalise on that reverse grid and get his elbows out, and doing exactly that. And then Benjamin McCluskey for Next Gen Pink, just ahead of Josie Doble, with the Doble Sim Racing driver rounding off the top 10. Andrew Pike, P11, best the rest overall for iRace Esports, head of Daniel Downing, your final finisher on the Prime podium for Goldwing Motorsport, and completing that Prime podium of what was Isaac Doble, Matthew Sheraton and Daniel Downing. And then Adam Delman, Jaroslav Sabula and Duncan Moraes to complete your top 15. And what was a P3 through to P5 in the Prime class for Goldwing Motorsport, with Duncan Moraes taking the P4 position in the class, and Sam Van Ol's P16 overall, but P5 in class there, so a big points haul for the team today. Mikey Doble, P17 for Doble at Sim Racing, ahead of Alex Everett, the Cresta Autosport driver, just missing out on the top 5 in the Prime class after what was a great start, but that instant at the end of lap number 1 cost him dear, and in the end we see Ian Manners and Jay Clay completing the top 20 overall. Matthew Addy to P21, head of Martin Shirley, with the RD Supersport drive being followed up by Sam Smith, and then it was JW Motorsports Harley Bicknell fending off Semper Racing's Piotr Jegoslewski to P24, with the Czech driver P25 ahead of Luke Jones, and then Craig Tillotson P27 ahead of Mark Sykes, with the top 30 being completed by Jonathan Collins and Paul Zanatachi. Zanatachi was a lap down the end for Affinity, as was Wayne Douglas and Alan McCain, but they'll all be classified as race finishers, and the only driver who won't be classified as a race finisher will be Reese Watt, having only completed 2 laps, did not complete over half the race distance, therefore classified as a non-finisher for his retirement, an unfortunate end to the day for the JW Motorsport driver in P33. But that concludes all of our racing here today, ladies and gentlemen, at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. Indeed, it concludes all of our racing for what is the 2023 calendar season here at NXTGEN Racing. But what it doesn't conclude is the broadcast today, because coming up in approximately 10 minutes time will be post-round interviews with up to our 3 volunteer drivers. We're going to be hearing their thoughts on what has been a fantastic trio of races today. I'm sure you all agree, to complete a double header in Germany. So don't go anywhere, you won't miss them. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. And today we're going to be having an all-pro interview room. We're going to be hearing from two drivers who we haven't heard from so far this season, so that's a present for us in both regards to broadcast and also for them to have their first ever interviews in the NXTCC Season 5. We're going to hear from Semper Racing's Wojciech Swirydowicz and then Wojciech Swirydowicz. We're then going to be coming on to Next Gen with Sam Casey's Lee Horn. I think it's quite apt we're hearing it from both Wojciech Swirydowicz and Lee Horn, in the fact we're going to be hearing from the perspective of two drivers who finished runners-up today. Indeed, both have been under major pressure to either attack or defend, and well, of course, Lee Horn versus Wojciech Swirydowicz in race number 3. But speaking of the man today who put it on pole with a stellar pole lap and took the win in race number 1, he joins me now in the interview room. It's none other than what is all good as me. We've got the wrong gentleman here, apologies. It is none other than Wojciech Swirydowicz. Good evening to you, Wojciech. Apologies there for grabbing Jaroslav rather than yourself. A bit of a mix-up there on the Discord, but still, we've got you now. Good evening to you, and welcome to the interview room. It's been a phenomenal day of racing for yourself. Pole position and the win in race number 1, and top 10s across the board, including a podium also in race number 3. A great way to wrap up what is the run to Christmas.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, and yeah, welcome Paul, and welcome all the viewers. I really had a good week. I did today what I should have done 1 week ago, but my false start last week was a bit of a terrible mistake. But yeah, today, race 1 was very controlled. I was trying to give Jaroslav a bit of a tow at the beginning of the first race to help him stay in P2. But once he lost the P2, then I was just flat out and tried to control the race. And yeah, I managed to bring it home. Yeah, I was quite happy with that.
It looked as though, well, it seems to have been a theme of the season. When we see you in your finest form, you are truly in control. And, well, that pole lap, 2 tenths faster than anybody else in qualifying. I mean, we've seen you take some pole positions this season, but not by that much. In fact, nobody this season has taken a pole position by over a tenth, let alone 2. Just where did it come from in qualifying?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the car. Like, I mean, I drive different car than everybody from the front runners. So, you know, Elantra might be better on some tracks and worse on the others. You know, I was still carrying weight and managed to bring in on pole. But let's say 2 weeks ago, I couldn't even get it into top 10 as far as I remember. So it might be track dependent as well.
Well, it was a stellar pole lap, and like you say, being the sole Elantra driver up at the front of the field, it adds diversity, and with that diversity has come a lot of success for yourself. And going into race number 1, it looked as though it was a relatively controlled race, but like you said earlier, in the fact that you wanted really to try and get a 1-2 of your teammate Jaroslav, albeit a bit of a poor start for your teammate, and then it looked as though from that point onwards it was almost as if you had to just run away at the front of the field.
Yeah, well, actually, Jaroslav started from 3rd, so he had a good start. But then that little incident when he lost the P2, that was it. But again, from my point of view, it was very controlled at the front.
Well, indeed, and thank you for correcting us there. Indeed, the battle between William Guthrie and Jaroslav in the end up playing out, but controlled from yourself. And I have to ask, with this circuit, the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, is it a circuit you've typically gone strong at, or is it a new circuit to you?
Oh, it's a new circuit. I had to buy it 2 days ago and did a bit of practice. I drove it in different scenes, but yeah, you definitely need a bit of extra practice when you try the new track for a particular car on iRacing. But yeah, it seems to be clicking fine for me. I'm sure you can, you know, improve your lines here and there, but yeah, apparently I was doing quite well. Yeah, it was working well for me.
Well, it is working well for yourself, and with that win in race number 1, which was in full control, race number 2, we saw what was a top 7 at reverse grid, and come the end of it, what was, excuse me, a P7 finish for yourself. Looked as though you weren't able to make too much progress in the second race of the day. Was that perhaps the success ballast holding the car back?
I would say so, yeah. I lost 2 positions on the first 2 corners. The only positions I gained was through the attrition from others. I also unfortunately caused 1 incident, so that might hurt me down the line. We'll see what is going to go with this, how it's going to go with the sewers. But yeah, I might be into a bit of a trouble, and I want to also apologize to Paul for causing that incident.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens post racing state with regards to that, but results, of course, provisional at this time. And with that 7th place finish in race number 2 and being right in the thick of it, how have you found it battling at this circuit? We've seen the fact a lot of corners that come in quick succession. It's almost as if you have to think 4 or 5 corners in advance to try and make an overtake, rather than being able to just make a move into, say, turn 1, as we see turn 1 in the background of the replay footage. But how have you found battling at this circuit?
Oh, it's very difficult to make a pass. If someone like battle between me and Lee Horn, he decided to defend, and there was no way me to get by. Maybe I actually had no recipe to get by him at all. I couldn't get a good runs out of the corner. I was still carrying a little bit of weight, and I had a more pace, but he could always place the car in a place where I couldn't really get a good run at all.
I see, and that does nicely bring us on to race number 3, because we saw what with the top 17 reverse grid, some great progress from yourself in the early stages, as we see you making the move on by the iRace esports drivers. I believe it might have been Andrew Pite, and then chasing after what was Dan Mould. But then, like you say, coming up behind Lee Horn, and the Honda driver being absolutely resolute in defence and parking it. But it was as if, in a way, up until that point, the car, the places, everything was just going perfectly.
Oh yeah, like from the first corner, I actually everything went my way. I gained few positions on the first lap, few incidents in front of me as well that helped me to get through the pack. I think in this race I did only one actual overtake 101, and it still allowed me to progress so far. You know, it was all trouble in front of me, guys going too wide, having a touch here and there, or going off track, and that allowed me to progress. I almost made it to second after Lee and Dan came together, but almost is not enough. So yeah, I'm still very happy with third place, and yeah, congratulations to Dory, who won the race, and yeah, obviously Lee Horn, who had a great defending drive.
Well, it was thrilling battling between yourself and Lee for what was the best part of 5 laps towards the end of the race, if not more. But with a double podium today, including a win in race number 1, I mean, Wojciech, you've been an absolute revelation this season so far, having joined at the start of season 5, stepping up right to the front of the field and fighting with the likes of Mikey Doble, Jamie Dory, Lee Horn. How do you feel your championship has been come this point of the season, what with the Christmas break around the corner?
Pretty good, but unfortunately I made too many mistakes that cost me a lot of points. It's going to be interesting going into the second part. I'm unfortunately going to miss one of the rounds later on in the new year. But I'm still in a good spot to fight for the win, but it's going to be very, very hard, especially with Dan Martin, scoring a lot of points so far. He's going to be very difficult to catch, I think. But yeah, we'll give it a try, Hard to say what's going to happen.
Well, it's all to play for, like you say, and hard to say what may happen, but perhaps something which we can talk about a little bit more, definitely. Obviously, a week's break coming up, but it doesn't always mean a break in sim racing. Have you got much planned over Christmas, or are you taking a step away from the sim racing rig?
With sim racing, I take it very easy. This is the only thing I'm doing. I signed for one league at the time and do that one race. That one evening of racing a week, and that's me done with iRacing for a week. That's enough for me. So I'm probably maybe gonna do one practice if admin's gonna organize a practice, but that's it. Yeah, I will be away from iRacing for a good few weeks now.
Oh, goodness me. Some well-deserved rest for yourself, and I appreciate the focus that you put in to just one league at a time and focusing on the NXTCC. Well, just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout-out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Oh, yeah. I want to give shout-out to my teammates, always helpful. We had a good cooperation during the races on the chat as well. Helping to each other. I think pretty much it. That's what I want to say. And obviously you doing very good broadcast, I must admit. You were doing the broadcast in the previous league I was racing as well. And I noticed you were very, very good. And this one is even better because you can do it live with all the replays and stuff. And I'm really impressed. You're really good at it. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Wojciech. And indeed, just for a bit of context, ladies and gentlemen, Wojciech, a major driver and a multi-time champion of, I do believe, the Alpha Touring Challenge, which is referred to and now exchanging his craft here in the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship. So he and I do have a little bit of history together, and indeed, he's been at the front of the field wherever he goes. But with that, Wojciech, it's been a pleasure having you join me in the interview room this evening. Enjoy the Christmas break. I hope you're able to really take it nice and easy, albeit a little bit of sneaky practice here and there. We look forward to seeing you back on circuit in the new year. But until then, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and see you after Christmas break. Take care.
All the best. So hearing there from our one-time winner today, Wojciech Swirydowicz, a sensational pole lap backed up by a race win, and then not quite able to make it a 1-2 with teammate Wojciech Swirydowicz in race number 1, but still coming close in the closing stages of the racing after what was a very close call, and albeit now hunting down with that championship crown and a 7th place and a 3rd place in the subsequent races, albeit not quite able to sneak away with the 2nd place in the end as we start to see the battle between Wojciech and Lee Horn in the closing stages of race number 3. But the point being, a man who's managed to achieve consistency here today, and well, not fancying his chances in terms of thinking that definitely today's result is going to go the longest way to getting the championship crown, and remarking on the fact that some key results dropped earlier on in the season, plus also a couple of incidents today, may just take off a little bit of the glamour of the racing at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, but still a determination definitely being demonstrated and a focus on this league, one league at a time, and it just goes to show that whilst he may be new to the series, he's taking it with the utmost seriousness and giving it everything to go for gold. And when we return from the mid-season break, missing one round in the final 4 rounds of the season, didn't mention which round in particular, and perhaps keeping his cards close to his chest there to make sure that his rivals can't prepare for his absence on the grid. But I can tell you one thing, he's definitely right in the thick of it in terms of the championship, and well, when the Semper Racing driver comes back in the new year, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this form continue, and it could be between him and a couple of other drivers come at the final round of the season. But now, ladies and gentlemen, coming on to our second interview of today, we're going to be hearing very shortly from none other than Wojciech Swirydowicz, and we're going to be hearing the story of the number 81 driver from Semper Racing, who's also had a great day of racing today. There's no doubt about that. And as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, we'll get to hear the story of the second man from Semper Racing, who once again continues to chase his first overall win of the season. He gets closer and closer to it each and every time. But as he now joins me in the interview room, good evening to you, Jaroslav. Apologies for pulling you in a little bit prematurely earlier, but it's great to have you with us now, right on cue. It's your first interview in the NXTCC, and what a day you've had in order to be joining me for an interview. 3rd place in qualifying, a 5th place in race 1, 2nd place in race 2, and then a 14th in race number 3. A big score and a big way to wrap up things going into Christmas. Surely you must be pleased with your performance today.
Yeah, good evening, Paul. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, it was another good weekend for me with loads of good battles, some good results, some mistakes as well from my end. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy and pleased with the racing as always, actually, in this league.
Well, indeed, and well, if you're pleased with the race and we're pleased with your performances, and what a way to start off with qualifying, a P3 in qualifying, in a session that looked as though as the day went on, it was more about who was going to be 2nd place, with your teammate taking the pole position by 2 tenths. How was qualifying for you?
It was tough actually because I was lacking a bit of pace overall compared to Wojciech. So before the quali, I thought that it's not going to be really that good. So it was a nice surprise to me. So yeah, it was also thanks to the good draft I had at the end of the session.
And just on that with regards to the draft, I have to ask, what's it like driving around this circuit in the tow of another car? Because you've got a couple of straights where the draft is great, but surely going through the corner sequences, such as the McDonald's chicane at turns 8, 9 and 10, it must really change the way the car wants to behave on turning and rotation.
Yeah, it changes a lot. It even surprises me how much does it change. But still, you looking for a draft because the amount of draft still overcomes the lack of downforce you have on those 3 corners.
I see. And going from the race then, well, not race, I should say, going from qualifying into race number 1, we saw you have a better start compared to your rival William Guthrie off the line, moved up into P2, and it looked as though for quite some time it was going to be the first Semper race in 1-2 of the season, and then a mistake crept in and it started to fall away.
Yeah, it was actually a really great start. I don't know how did I manage to do it, but yeah, it was all good and it was looking good. But in the middle of the race, I actually started to feel that William will be pushing hard because I was starting to overheating the tires. So my pace was going actually a little bit slower. So yeah, he was pushing hard, and then we had a proper touring car action together. And at the end, I end up on P5, which was still good a result for me actually. So yeah, that was it. Maybe in the future we will get another double, like 1-2 finish.
I mean, we would definitely love to see that, but still, to see you finish inside the top 5 is great, and it's a good haul of points for yourself and the team. And going into race number 2, of course, we saw a reverse grid of P7, so it meant you'd start P3 again. You seem to be making a habit of starting P3s. It might just be a coincidence. But race number 2, a good charge for P2, albeit having to chase down was the race leader, but not quite able to find a way through for a move.
Yeah, this track is very difficult to find a place. Actually, you know, with the whole field being so close on the track like this, you actually need to be looking for a mistake, and it has to be rather a bigger mistake than a smaller one to put you in a position to have a chance for the attack.
And just on that, chasing after Adam Delman lap after lap, I mean, you talked about a little bit earlier about overheating the tyres. I mean, running that close to your rival and going into multiple heavy braking zones time and time again, how do you balance protecting the car versus chasing after your rival and trying to stay glued to their rear to try and make the move? I mean, it sounds like it's a contradiction. You want to keep the car cool, but you've got to be right in the hot zone to go on the offensive.
Yeah, to be honest, I am not really great in that terms, but what you're trying usually to do is that if there is a moment when the Adam was, let me say, slower in some section, but there was no chance to use that for an attack, you just go slower and try to preserve your tires, and then to save it hopefully for a latest few laps of the race. Yeah, and that was it. You know, sometimes he was a little bit slower. He had a little bit troubles on the first maybe 5-6 laps. But that was he didn't make a mistakes that actually I could have a chance to try to overtake him. Well, I tried once, but it was no possibility anyway, and then I was just trying to stick behind him and looking for his mistake on the last laps, but that didn't happen. So
well, it looks like the two of you were destined not to make mistakes and the battle would go all the way. And I think it could have gone on for longer if we had another 12 laps or perhaps even just 1 or 2. But still, we had to wave the checker flag and a second place for yourself. Indeed, a couple of second place finishes this season. I have to ask, when do you think that first win is going to come? I mean, you're the man who's finished second more times than anybody else in this series so far.
oh, and actually this is where you are wrong. And I spotted on your previous streams as well, because I already won race 1 on Interlagos.
Well, goodness me, you can tell I'm getting forgetful in my growing old age. That's a very good point, and thank you for correcting that, Jaroslav.
No worries.
And as we quickly segue our way over to race number 3, of course, now going into our final race of the day, and what would be going to be a top 17 at reverse grid. Yourself starting at P16, and it looks like in our final race of the day, very little progress to be made initially, but I can imagine that could be a lot of ballast having to do with it.
Yeah, the weight is never helpful, but it was actually not a bad race for me until, like, I guess half distance. I didn't really make. I think I didn't really make. I did one overtake, around half of the race, and then I just pick up the places that the other drivers had some sort of problems. But then I made a mistake when I was running too wide with Andrew Pike. I made a slowdown. Well, I went over the line, and that gave me a slowdown, so I had to pass Andrew Pike and Adam Delmont as well, I think. So yeah, that dropped me down from 12th to 14th, and this is how I finished. Usually in the races like that, especially in a mid-track, I'm mostly focused on just finish. If there is a chance to kind of safely do some progress, I'm rather trying to get that without the problems rather than risking everything.
I see, indeed, really having to weigh up the concept of risk versus reward in each race. Indeed, championship campaigns are made over multiple rounds, not just one, albeit a couple points here there can be defining. And with that P14 finish in race number 3, still some points accrued overall. So 3 points finishes today. And now going into the second break, our Christmas break, how do you feel your championship has been so far? I mean, perhaps you've not been taking the wins that your teammate Wojciech has, but you've still been right up there every round and battling hard for positions, and there's a reason why you're contending the top 10.
Yeah, overall I'm pretty happy. I think actually, my position is better than my pace overall, but I'm trying to kind of stay away from the problems and trying to keep it clean. So yeah, that's how it is. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the performance I done. I think I done a bit of progress thanks to Wojciech. He can teach me a lot sometimes, and especially it's good to have a quicker teammate because you have that sort of rabbit to chase, you know.
Well, indeed, it makes sense, and you all grow faster as a team when you're chasing each other's pace. Well, it's great to hear the mood down in the team is a positive one indeed, all working together. And I have to ask, with Christmas Day only less than a week away now, is there going to be plenty of time on the simulator over Christmas, or are you putting your feet up and taking it easy?
Well, we will see. I'm trying to keep the balance, but yeah, you never know. Now, probably there's going to be a bit of everything. Time spent with family, a bit of work, a bit of sim racing. So we will see what share of all those will sim racing have during that time for me.
Well, that's absolutely fair. We hope you can make the most of the time available to you. And just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Well, for sure, all of the admins and yourself for the broadcast, for creating and running the really great league, and for all the drivers, as there's loads of drivers, loads of competitive drivers, and the field is very close. So I think for the amount of the drivers and how close they are, the racing is pretty clean. So yeah, shout out to all of you guys, and also to my teammates. Wojciech is very helpful, so we are actually trying to help each other if there is a chance to do it. So we have a new driver as well, Piotr, who is just learning the TCR car, so he did not so bad as well this evening. So yeah, I think that's it.
Well, Jaroslav, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview, and congratulations once again on another great set of performances, including that second place podium in race number 2 and the top 5 in race number 1. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Do enjoy your time off over Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you back on circuit in France come the 2nd of January.
Thank you guys. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year. And yeah, I'll see you all New Year.
All the best.
Bye.
So hearing that there from Jaroslav Swirydowicz, the pro driver for Semper Racing, and indeed what an upbeat view from the racing side, and the fact that firstly, a key point to talk about, that he feels his championship position at this point is higher than where his pace is, and that goes to show, if anything, just how consistent he has been as a driver all season. He hasn't necessarily been scoring the big headlines, although he did very well correct me on the fact I mentioned that he hadn't picked up a win this season. He's been Mr. Second Place, but he's right in picking up that win at Interlagos, and we do apologise for that slight error, but as he corrected us there, it also goes to show that at the same time, picking up these big wins here and there, but also those podiums, they all go well, and that's what it's about in the NXTCC. It's about 9 rounds of racing counted out of the 10, and making sure to keep those results calm, collected and consistent, and well, Jaroslav Sabula definitely embodying that principle, and once again demonstrating that today, missing out on what was the potential second place in race number 1, and still that 1-2 still to come for Semper Racing, but you never know what can happen with 4 rounds to go. But reflecting on the fact, great driving, and also talking a lot more about what was that risk versus reward cycle, particularly in race number 3, about does he go for certain moves, does he just simply hedge his bets on protecting position, and this is a man who's definitely keen to make sure those points count every round and every race in a round, and that's why he is inside the top 10 of the championship, indeed pushing for a top 5 finish come at the end of the season so far, and may that continue when we return in the new year. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to our final interview, and we'll be speaking to very shortly Lee Horn from NXTGEN with Sam Cases, the pro class driver who definitely today has had to work just as hard as his 2 peers who we've interviewed with regard to bringing home those results, particularly that second place in race number 3. And as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, we're going to be hearing his perspective on what has definitely been some challenging races. In fact, we are going to get a straight word from him now. Give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, but he will be join us in the interview. In fact, we do have Lee joining us now. Welcome to you, Lee, and what a day of racing it has been from yourself today, in the fact that whilst it may have been outside the top 10 for the most part, race number 3 saw you have to grit your teeth and keep your cool to fight for a second place finish, and what a big haul of points it'd be at the end of the day. I mean, how do you feel Motorsport Arena Oschersleben has treated you?
Yeah, good evening, Paul. Yeah, that was hotly contested. I've really enjoyed this round, to be honest. I've been chipping away as best I can. Got involved in a couple of little incidents in races 1 and 2. Not my doing, but you know, they sort of stemmed me moving forward maybe a couple more places. But it sort of turned out well in the end, didn't it? With you very kindly pulling out the random draw and sticking me on pole for race 3. So yeah, I was proper determined. In race 3 to do what I can, and it didn't start amazingly well, as you probably saw.
Well, indeed, a challenging race number 3, and we'll come on to that in due course, but let's start from the beginning and talk a little bit about qualifying. P13 in qualifying, in what was quite a hotly contested qualifying session in the midfield. It looked as though, for the most part, based on the initial laps that were coming in, you were pushing for around the P10 to P15 area. How did qualifying feel from your perspective?
Oh, if I'm honest, Paul, was a bit disappointed. I was 3 or 4 tenths off what I know I could have put a time in with. I did it in practice. I've been consistently quick for my pace over the practice sessions. So I came in reasonably confident, but unfortunately I just didn't quite hook up the best lap I could have done, which maybe would have put me 3 or 4 spots further up the grid. But it wasn't too bad. It was a good starting place. So. Yeah, but no, wasn't best pleased with the end result, but it was okay.
That's absolutely fair with the assessment, and well, with that pace available to you, we saw you try to deploy it in race number 1, and well, our 2 peers who we've interviewed, Jaroslav and Wojciech, they both started up towards the front with not too many cars around them, but I have to ask, going into John Clellan's favourite corner, turn number 1 here, in the midfield from P13 on the grid, what's it like as a driver knowing you could have cars on your left, cars on your right, in front and behind, and everyone's coming down to first gear, in fact to an apex speed for some of 30 miles an hour?
Yes, it's a big haul up on the brakes when you're on your own, let alone when you've got plenty cars on all around you. So yeah, my concentration point in that situation, certainly lap 1, cold tyres, is to hold my line. The key thing with many cars around you is to hold your line. If people start straying off the lines when you've got 2 and 3 wide, that's just when the carnage starts. So for me, it was stay, sitting behind the car that was in front of me, not punt them up the rear, hold the line that I was on, and hopefully come out the other side, reasonably clean. And that sort of seemed to work quite well, and got me through the first few corners all right.
We definitely worked to your advantage, but then going deeper and deeper into race number 1, it looked so for every place you were fighting to gain, there were cars coming up behind looking to take the places back, and come the end of it, finishing P13 exactly where you started. Was race number 1 a bit of a frustrating race for you?
A little bit, yeah. I felt I had a bit better pace. Had a little coming together with, I think it was Sam out the back through the chicane. A little bit of an overzealous move on his part, I felt, but I lost 3 places with that. A little bit disappointed on that front, but apart from that, I don't think I would have gone maybe much further if that hadn't have happened. So, not too bad a start. Could have been a lot worse.
And then moving on to race number 2, we saw you starting from P13 and, well, come the end of it, a P17 finish. Looked as though race number 2 was one of those ones whereby things just couldn't quite go the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, I think that's probably my bit of bad luck that I was due, because I haven't had much bad luck for a while. It's all pretty much, gone reasonably well for me throughout this season so far. But yeah, unfortunately got tangled up with one car sort of going into another, into corner 3, I think it was. They got turned around and came back across the track, and I was thinking that they might have stayed on the inside and went wide, but unfortunately ended up just literally sat in the middle of the track and having to engage reverse gear to get the car off my front nose. So managed to, after staying in reverse because it accelerated too quickly, so I did a double reverse in the middle of the track, managed to get back up to speed after letting Jamie through, because there was no point in me battling him. I was getting back up to speed, and then trying to fight and get a few positions back, which I think I managed to get a couple. But it was a frustrating 17th. However, the luck then turned back around with your kind pluck of a couple of balls there, and stopped me onto pole position. So that sort of made up for it all.
A pole position start for the final race of the day, albeit with a lot of close competition around you, whether it be pros or primes on the front row, and the opening laps did look to be a test of your resolve to either fight for positions or let places go.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd said to myself, you can do this, you've got good pace here, and it's a track that you can confidently defend at quite well. I felt that I could anyway, but unfortunately I think it was lap 2, cold brakes. I hadn't moved the bias forward for the first couple of laps as much as I normally do, just do a couple of clicks, and so the back end just went going into turn 1, and it spat me, and I thought I was going to smash into the wall on the inside. Managed to sort of like opposite lock both ways. Jamie, he needed a change of underwear behind me, thinking I was going to pull him into the wall as well. But it then threw me across the corner of the right-hander of the second part of that corner 1 there. And it gave me a 1 second slowdown. So as I came out the corner of sort of what is turn 2 there, I just lifted. Jamie obviously could then go by. I managed to get rid of the slowdown and thought, right, I just got to keep my head down here, try and stay in the back of Jamie, and hope that the quick guys, with their inevitable pace, would not catch me. But that happened. But I said to myself, I'm going to drive as best I can, and I'm going to defend hard. Defend fair, but defend as hard as I could. And I was proper chuffed at the end of that to ended up holding 2 of probably the title protagonists behind me. We're in the same class, and all I wanted to do was to try and get the best position I could. To get a P2, I was proper chuffed to hold that, to be honest.
Let's talk a little bit more about that batting, particularly with Wojciech Swirydowicz, keeping you under pressure for lap after lap, practically the whole second half of the race, and we've seen how strong the Semper Racing driver is over the course of the season so far. It looked as though you were able to use the Honda's braking potential to your advantage, but also some very strong exits out the corners as well. It looked as though for everything he could throw at you, you had an answer.
Yeah, it might have looked like that, but it was. I was sweating. I was having to work very, very hard, and keep one eye in the mirror and one eye looking obviously at my apexes. It was hard work. He was putting a tremendous amount of pressure on, and I think he was getting a little bit sort of he was definitely had a bit of quicker pace, but getting by somebody here is just a different thing. So I knew if I could try and keep my car on the right places. And he was respectful, to be fair. There's a couple of times he could have left his nose in and it probably would have sent me flying. But I think he knew at the end of the day it wasn't quite right to leave it there, and he did the right thing and keep the pressure on and continue to try and beat me. I really enjoyed it. It was very hard work, and for him to so nearly pip me, obviously as we went across the line there, that was such a close finish. It was really good to do. I was yelping and giving an old fist pump as I went over the line there.
Well, absolutely brilliant indeed. We believe it was 7 thousandths at a line between the two of you, are the closest finishes we've seen for podium places. And just then putting things on rewind slightly, of course, before that we did see the battle between yourself and Dan Mould, which came to some slight blows coming out of turn number 3, but in that process almost losing 2 places for the price of 1 battle.
Yeah, I did go back and have a quick look at that, because I wasn't sure as to how it fully went down. We came down and he sort of outbroke me a little bit on the inside coming into turn 1. But I sort of knew my braking was pretty good, and I broke him probably not late. So I carried the speed in to keep lap with him, stay alongside. So I managed to stick on that inside there. And as we came round, sometimes on iRacing, you can see obviously Dan's trying to turn around the corner, I'm trying to go around the corner as we're exiting as well. And the car's just got that bit of touch. And at that point there, I felt the car sort of turn a little bit, so I tried to keep turning. Obviously, I wasn't turning into him; it's just what the contact caused. I lifted, I heard him lift, obviously, and then he managed to tuck in behind. But he unfortunately went a little bit wider and lost the momentum. But it was just good hard battling there with us going around those first 2 or 3 corners. But again, it was hard, very very hard work. I don't consider myself on the pace of these guys, so to share a bit of track time with them and have some feisty but fair battling was very very enjoyable.
Well, indeed, as we take a look back at the battle there between yourself and Dan Mould, as you were explaining what happened, and both of you being able to make it through unscathed in the end, and indeed then holding off Wojciech for the remainder of the race. And what a defence it was. But then looking ahead now, Lee, well, in fact, doing a bit of a retrospective on your championship so far. We're now 6 rounds in, the Christmas break lies ahead. And of course, this is your first season in the pro class. Perhaps you've not been on the pace of some of your peers, but you've definitely been giving it everything and relishing the opportunity of the challenge in the pro class and fighting to be inside the top 10. I mean, it's a step up for yourself, but it looks like it's a step up you've welcomed.
Oh, for me personally, it's a huge step up. I've never been at this pace. This is a sort of my pinnacle point at the moment, as I'm going to continue to rise a bit more with pace. But yeah, I'm certainly surpassing my expectations at the moment. I am hunting for a top 10. I'll be absolutely over the moon if I finish top 10 in the season out of a 40-50 car grid, and to come into the pro category like this. Yeah, that'll be a tremendous achievement for myself. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing with how the season's going. Yes, there could have been some better results. At the same time, like I say, I think I'm exceeding my own expectations here with the sort of the pace and results I'm getting at the moment. So yeah, hopefully it will continue and improve.
Well, when we do return, it'll be the Circuit de Magny-Cours where we'll get to see whether you can continue that run of form and chase down that top 10. But let's not talk about France right now. Let's talk about something a little bit close to home, and that is the Christmas break that's coming up in a week's time. And I do have to ask, will there be plenty of time on the simulator during the Christmas break week, or are you putting your feet up and spending the time with the family?
Well, obviously I'm going to have some family time. I don't spend massive amounts of time on the sim as it is. Obviously, I only do this for this one league a week, albeit we do practice on a Monday, so I'm on sort of twice a week. So I'm hoping there will be a little bit of sim time, but yes, there'll definitely be plenty of family time. Christmas lunch here and also another Christmas lunch over my sister's. And I'm just in the process of setting up my additional 2 butt kickers at the moment. They're all wired up and ready to go. I've just got to mount them, so I'll have all 4 corners. And I've recently just built myself a new PC as well, which is running very very nicely at the moment on my old VR headset. So I just wouldn't mind tweaking a few more bits in preparation for the start of the rest of the season in January.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear, and what a Christmas break you've got ahead of yourself there. And some upgrades to the PC in preparation for January, plus also some time with the family. I don't think many of us would say there's any other perfect combination than that if you're a sim racing fan. With that, Lee, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, as always, thanks to our sponsors that contribute and help us run our leagues here at NXTGEN. Jamie for obviously all the hard work, and then all the people that he's commandeered to help him now. Gavan's doing the spreadsheets and all the stats for us. Mark, obviously, on all the deliveries. Your very good self doing these excellent broadcasts. And everyone else that's obviously contributing in the background and the admin team. Obviously, all the drivers for turning up and wanting to be involved in what's just a flourishing championship in my eyes. It just seems so popular, and the level of competition has just gone from it's going from a level to level, higher and higher each season it goes, and it's a pleasure to be a part of. So yeah, thanks to everybody.
Well, Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join us over the course of tonight for an interview and to see you continue to push in your endeavours to finish inside the top 10 this season in the overall championship. But with that, like I say, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and the family. And indeed, we look forward to seeing you back on circuit in 2024, looking to carry on the score. But until then, have a fantastic rest of your evening, and we'll see you at Magny Court.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Merry Christmas to you too, and a Happy New Year.
So hearing there from Lee Horn, our final interview of today, and on the next show with Sam Casey's driver, reflecting on what definitely has been a major step up and a challenge since he joined the Pro class at the start of this season. I think today really defining or demonstrating to you what this season has been for Lee Horn, in the fact, qualifying wise, disappointed at the fact that he hadn't been able to find a couple more, if not up to 4 attempts worth of time, and if he had been able to find that time, that could have been good enough to put him on the front 3 rows of the grid. But still, the next gen with Sam Casey's driver pushing hard, and when it didn't work out in qualifying, it wasn't dismay going racing, attacking and having to defend in equal measure for race 1, and in race number 2, an early incident cost him dear, but still not giving in, and well, fortune would have it, putting him on pole for race number 3 of a reverse grid. But even then, in race number 3, a small mistake cost him significantly in the battle with Jamie Dory, as we did see in the replay footage as they made their way through turns 1 and 2. In the early stages, but Lee then looking behind and noting the encroaching presence of Dan Mould and Wojciech Swirydowicz and keeping both of them behind all the way to the checkered flag, even if it was just by 7 thousandths in that drag race to the line versus the Semper Racing driver. Big points scored today in the final race of the day, and therefore for Lee Horn, it's going to be something to put a smile on his face going into the Christmas break. And well, can he achieve his ambition of finishing inside the top 10 in the overall championship come the end of the season? Well, definitely I think some of you will be putting your money down on Lee Horn for the simple reason, whether he's having a great day or not, the number 36 driver from next year with Sam Casey has got an upward beat, and that's what you need to be chasing down the top 10. And well, long may the positivity continue when we return for round number 7 in 2 weeks' time. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our interviews for today, and we'd like to say a big thank you once again to our 3 interviewees. Firstly, the 2 Semper Racing drivers of Wojciech Swirydowicz and Jaroslav Sabula, and then lastly but not leastly, next gen with Sam Casey's Lee Horn, all 3 drivers from the Pro class today, of course. And we're going to try and get interviews with all drivers from the Pro class as of when we return in 2 weeks' time. But until then, thank you to them for their interviews. Indeed, thank you to all of our interviews so far this season, whether they've been post-round interview, between race interviews, or pre-race interviews. We've appreciated them all, and I'm sure you guys and girls have. And well, we hope they have a fantastic Christmas holiday ahead. Indeed, to all of our drivers, because of course it's an important time to rest for all of them. But that does conclude our interviews for today. Now, sadly, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we can't give you the updated provisional standings after 6 rounds of racing. Unfortunately, our point manager, Gavin, as Lee indicated there, or Gavin Gardner, one of our racers in this series and doing the work behind the scenes, not available to do so today. So therefore, we are going to have to take a pause on those, but we'll get you up to date with the points when we return to the racing as of the start of the round 7 broadcast. But what it does mean is that it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's racing and perhaps you want to know more about the next gen racing community as a result, perhaps you're sat over there right now thinking my New Year's resolution is going to be to do some more dedicated league sim racing come 2024. Well, we would love to have you as part of the community and racing with us at Next Gen Racing going into the new year of racing, because this is our last race of the 2023 calendar year. Well, to find out about what we've got planned for 2024 and all more, we definitely recommend you firstly go to our website, that's nextgenracing.co.uk, today, and our website available on screen here. And as we get towards what is the 17th year of hosting leagues, and indeed we continue to go from strength to strength, previously on a mixture of console and PC, but now dedicated to PC, particularly the iRacing platform, although rumour has it we've got some R Factor 2 on the horizon in 2024, but you might have to join our official Discord to find out about that, or go to our website. We'd love to have you as part of the community. Indeed, we continue to push forward here with all our plans and more in the upcoming year. But if you don't necessarily want to go to our website, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, you can of course go to our official Facebook group. And that's at www.facebook.com/groups/NextGen Racing. Well, there you can find out all the same details as per our website, but you can also find out a little bit more about the admin and staff members behind the scenes, including what we do not just on the simulated circuit, but also on the real circuit. We're a good number of our staff members being track marshals, and even some of them real-life racing drivers. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors, and they do include Power Max, also their Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Sam Cases UK, Douglas Motorsport, Benji Sim Photos, and of course their IMB Racewear, our title sponsor for this season of the NXTCC. And to remind you again, IMB Racewear is the sim racing and real life racing racewear provider that prides itself on individuality with their fully custom designs, enabling you to make the impact you have always wanted to on track, as their racewear is designed for you by you. Do head to their website, imbRacewear.com, to find out more about IMB Racewear's fully customizable product range, which brings benefits you cannot get from off-the-shelf products. Indeed, we do apologise for not being able to catch a word from the CEO of IMB Racewear today, Ian Berryman, but we will try and catch him later on in the season. And I do believe we will be getting a word from him for definite at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. But something's come up, that does happen of course, but still, we're very grateful for Ian sharing his time with us when he is able to do so, and we'll speak to him later on in the season, ladies and gentlemen. But with that, thank you very much for tuning in today, and now the big question sits: what awaits us when we return in 2024? Well, that question will be answered by the fact we're making our way to Magny-Cours. Put the date in your calendar, the first date you should have in your calendar for the 2024 calendar year, Tuesday the 2nd of January. We'll be back with a blast for round number 7 as the NXTCC makes its way to France for the first time to take on the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours, a highly technical circuit previously host to Formula 1 and a regular host to TCR Europe and also Porsche Carrera Cup racing in France. And with its mixtures of corners and extended straights, it's all to play for with 4 rounds to go. Indeed, we'll bring you up to all the point scores when we kick off the broadcast in 2 weeks' time. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure bringing you all your racing action at Next Gen Racing over the course of the 2023 calendar year. And indeed, from all of us at Next Gen, I'd like to say thank you very much for tuning in. Whether you've been here for just the broadcast today or with us from the start in 2023, we've appreciated it every step of the way. We wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And until 2024, we've been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay smiling, stay positive, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.